go right into some of the, maybe because they're not too long in terms of context. So we see how far we get today. And then next week we'll finish up with Unit 9.
So,
yeah. One of the things that I asked students to do last week was to go through the self-assessment in Unit 6, but you can sit through that one because you'll have a chance with the other ones. So it won't be too much of a trouble catching up. Okay.
let me ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know of any trust company in the Bahamas that deals with real estate investment trust?
That's a good question. What prompted you to inquire?
Because that's what I'm interested in.
REITs,
Yes, sir.
REITs we call them. Why are you interested in that?
Huh?
What made you become interested in REITs in the Bahamas?
Because when I do my research on wealth and wealth generation, land is the greatest wealth. That's what it was. It's being fought over for generations from. And so the whole idea is now the wealthy, as they make their money, they invest in real estate.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I realized that we as descendants of slaves, we don't have that wealth generation for the mass population in the Bahamas. But if we pool our resources into a REIT, we can simultaneously, over a period of generations,
Make it possible.
That generational wealth
that
will be maintained in the trust. So I mean, because also dealing with the when I also studied in the side sociology and psychology, because we come from a depressed state,
right?
Where we do get money, because we have money flowing through this country,
right.
And then when we do get lump sum of money, we do asinine things with it, and then wonder why at the end of the day we lost our value position.
Right.
You understand? But I realize with a REIT, because you have trustees and people who's managing the investment, and you get me a return, so you can mess up the bulk of the asset, but only your returns.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier to mess it up if you're managing it for the most part, yeah. But if in the trust, you're saying with trustees, let's say they use the property for whatever reason, and you have some whatever investment returns coming in, whoever they show the beneficiaries are to get their share, and that's all they can mess up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially for generations.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why wealthy people create trusts.
Exactly.
And not wills, because wills have a tendency to give beneficiaries lump sums. And rich people don't necessarily want to leave legacies and lump sums to their children because they know that the majority of them will blow it.
Exactly.
Even non-Black people.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a good idea. REITs in the Bahamas, there isn't too much happening, especially in the local economy. That would be something extremely new.
Yeah, it's a niche market that I say can tap into.
Yeah. The question is, how do you convince enough people of influence?
Well, I created I should say financial literacy company called Solidarity 242 Group, and where I'm going to be teaching people about financial literacy and the different financial instruments. And but I'm not only teaching them how to do it, I'm not teaching them how to fish. I'm teaching them how to catch bait, and I'm carrying them in the boat with me. So if you choose to, then hey, we go catch fish together. If you choose not, you can stay up.
Sure, so the usual.
You can buy the fish from me.
Right, it's your choice.
But either which way, I'm not going to go to my way to give you a fish.
Of course, that doesn't help. Giving fish doesn't help either.
No.
You have to want it.
Exactly.
Of
so
course.
If you don't want it, like they say,
Sure.
like my grandmother always teach me, Every man by the sweat of their eyebrow eat bread. So if you choose not to sweat, then you starve.
Indeed.
It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, that's definitely one way to separate the sheep from the goats.
Exactly.
And history has shown that some will want it and some won't. That's just the way it is for whatever reason.
The poor and sick rich,
yeah, and those who just don't want the headache.
Exactly.
They just want to buy a fish, beg for a fish, ask for one, steal one, whatever it is. But you're looking for that group. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's not a bad idea. And so, yeah, thinking about establishing some form of REIT might be the mechanism once you start to see things going. Like, for example, if you can get some persons who want to invest, perhaps, I don't know what the investment vehicle will be, whether it's a commercial building, a mall, or whatever the case might be.
I'm targeting more agribusiness. I'm a farmer.
Oh, okay.
I'm targeting agribusiness because I want something that is sustainable,
right,
and equitable.
Okay, a farmer by profession.
Yeah, I grew up farming in Cricket Island, so I looked at it and I said, you know what? And I've even started reaching out to Ghana to get farmland in Ghana. You know, because you know they had the year of return from 2019.
Right.
They want African in that diaspora to come home and bring their expertise home.
This is interesting, yeah.
You understand? So I've even been acquiring how I can get farmland in Ghana, and a lot of Ghanaians, they sitting on gold deposits, but because of the colonialization, they say they don't want to partner up with no more foreigners, white foreigners. They rather wait till blacks come over and bring their expertise. Yeah,
and deal with the lesser of two evils.
Exactly.
Because blacks, sometimes it's sometimes greed and power and all that is colorblind, but
yes,
it's the lesser of two evils.
Exactly.
Yeah. Point well taken.
So I've like I said, I've really do that, and I say, you know what? Let me establish this in the Bahamas.
Yeah, farming is interesting, which means that you should be able to get crown land fairly easily.
Yeah.
Especially if you're thinking agriculture.
I already have 21 acres in agriculture.
Then.
So I'm starting with just mine.
Then it's just a matter now of getting the capital that you need to get things rolling.
Exactly.
And once people can walk, see when investors walk, you don't want to walk, but some people are visionaries. Like you shut on the line. Yes, like Disney. Yeah. But most people are not that visionary.
No, they want
to see something growing on it first. And once they see stuff growing on it, then
they buy it.
Yes. And then you can start. Once you start getting stuff growing, getting some people employed and things are growing, then you can start, okay, now I'll go to my lawyers and set up a REIT. So you might see the point? Yeah. And then you start getting people to buy into it, by all means.
Yeah, that's actually, like I said, man, every Bahamian, there's enough land that every Bahamian should own 1 acre.
More than enough.
1 acre.
They're just holding it as usual.
And then with that 1 acre, you only need 100 by 100 to build a homestead.
Sure.
And that's it. And then the rest of that is farm.
If you want to farm.
No, the rest is farm.
Oh, you mean it's mandatory?
Yes, mandatory.
Okay, in order to get the property, you have to do that.
So you have a homestead that you can always, your kids, generations after generations.
Sure, and you can build communities, especially in the islands.
You understand?
Sure.
And you can just farm that, and you don't even have to do all the farming yourself. You could cut it up into parcels and lease it.
Sure.
You understand? That's just a generation just there alone.
Absolutely. The problem is getting people to buy into the vision for farming. Because we have this thing with farming.
No, I ain't gonna tell you no lie. A lot of people get interested in it. The problem is the government subsidies. Because starting off a farm, you need a subsidy for at least 18 months.
Which the government should do wholeheartedly.
Exactly.
That's my point. That's the point I was going to get to next. Just like not giving people the appropriate land that they can give, they are skimpy with subsidy. Okay, for some strange reason, especially in agriculture.
Yes.
See, if you're talking about subsidy to do some tourist business, for what? We have enough tourism going on. Exactly. The whole world is building stuff for tourism.
But we still don't benefit. The hotels still benefit.
That's my point. Okay. The real issue is, why does government keep being stingy when it comes to subsidies for agriculture?
Because they don't want the populace to generate that type of wealth.
Why not?
Because like and then was told, keep on pouring, you can do them better.
So we're still in that 19th century thing, 20th century thing.
Yeah, we're still in it. We're still in it.
Yeah.
And proof is in the pudding because, okay, it's like this. They will give you the trough, but don't put no water in it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wait for it to rain.
I know. I'm just being a devil's advocate. Trust me, I've been around from back in the day when this whole thing was going on big time.
Yeah.
Sure. The unfortunate thing is we're still doing it.
Yeah. Still doing it.
But don't let that stop you.
No,
don't let that keep you from going into the Minister of Agriculture. See, whoever it might be, and the director, and say, this is what I'm doing in Abaco, or whatever the case might be.
I will not do that because when I was working for BAMSI,
oh, you worked there?
I was procurement manager.
Oh, so you know the problems associated with that.
Of course, that's why I quit, because when I went to the then Minister Pintard, because I went down to meet Renwood Wells, but then Pintard took over, and when I told them, you know, because in the procurement management part of it, I had to order everything for BAMSI. And the chemicals that they were ordering was the same chemicals that we were complaining about the foods coming from the States.
So why were they ordering it?
And that's what I brought up to the chairman, which was Mr. Wells, Tennyson Wells at the time.
Right.
And
who claims he knows better when it comes to agriculture, correct?
And the only thing he was doing was political garbage. But anyway. So
but wasn't he the guy along with the newspaper guy's brother? What's his name? Who runs the Tribune with that group, that family?
Yeah, well, he's associated with all of that. All of them are UBP oligarchs. So I let them know why we still order it, because even when I called Jamaica, who produces the chemicals, I said, why you are still making these chemicals if it's poisonous?
And what did they say?
And they say, we don't use it. We only make it because people like the Bahamas still want it.
Really? This is a true story now, Mr. Higgs? I know it's true.
I call the thing on myself.
I know it's true. That's what bothers me to the hill. So having gotten that information, what did you do with it?
I went to the chairman.
Yes.
When the chairman didn't do anything,
why
I went to the minister.
Why didn't they do anything?
Because they only was focusing on looking for PLPs in BAMSI, who they feel working against them, and firing them.
You mean the same old back and forth thing?
Yes. And so I went to the minister and I said, listen here, this is the case and what's going on. And you know what he told me? He told me straight up. He said, Mr. Higgs, you have a decision to make, because I am not going to interfere with the chairman in what he's doing. Of
course not. It's the same old political thing.
And so you have a point, either you're going to work with it, or you're going to, because I showed him my farm, my agro-business plan. And he said, this is a good plan you have.
Of course.
But we cannot adopt that in BAMSI.
Why not? They didn't tell you, huh?
Well, of course, political. So
yeah,
he told me
it's the same old problems.
So he told me I have a choice. Either I go and do it on my own. So I went to the chairman because my probation was up and I supposed to get my salary increase. He said, "Oh, we going through an audit right now, and it can take probably another 8 months before it's done."
Before what's done?
The audit of land and
right,
and the
whole frustrating process thing.
So I said, okay, then that was a random stick, because my probation was up from 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And I said, okay, then well, consider this my notice of resignation. Friday will be my last day.
And they didn't dissuade you, trying to keep you?
Oh no, they was glad I left because they never hired another procurement manager.
I know they were glad you left. Don't forget now.
Because I was agitating.
Listen, I've been around agitation for most of my life. I know what it is and I know the consequences are. So I get it. And unfortunately, that's still the problem. And here we are in the 21st century, still frustrating the process for political and personal reasons and fighting against our very own, who we say we are out here to help, which is a lie and continues to be hypocrisy, unfortunately.
Neo-colonialism.
Man, how could you take that attitude at all for a Bahamian who even has the nerve to come up with the idea to do it? See my point? That's what I've always been saying. We keep doing it to each other. But when a white person or foreigner, when I say foreigner, I mean non-white. You don't have to always be white, just be foreign.
That's it. That's it.
Like we seem like we have this, we hate each other. For some strange reason.
We have professionals. We had professionals in Bamsey, but they'd rather take more information from a guy in these and information.
I know what they're doing. It's the same thing in financial services, medicine, everything else. Because we don't want to give Bahamians credit for nothing if we don't have to, unless they are political cronies of ours.
Exactly.
It's the most unfortunate thing. It is nothing new. It is as old as Methuselah in the Bahamas, in the Caribbean, and unfortunately in around the world.
Yeah, neocolonialism at its best.
Okay.
So that's why I choose to take the route that I take. And I do not want as much government interference as I can not have in it. I will not have it because I know the type of people that is in government.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to be there to help.
But they don't.
I know.
They are your biggest road.
I know. Especially, but you know, if somebody's thinking about putting up a mall, they say, okay, so the white boys control the mall deals or whatever.
Exactly.
Whatever. But when it comes to agriculture and all this talk about becoming self-sufficient, see my point? Anybody who comes up with the idea is prepared to put a shot, we should at least give them an opportunity to fail, true or false?
True.
See?
Exactly.
I'm not saying you will, but give you the opportunity to succeed or
fail. They talk the talk, but they don't put the subsidy behind it. I
know. Let's say they will ask you to give a figure for initial subsidy to get started. What do you think that number would be, Mr. Hicks?
$1.2 million off the bat.
You mean the same million they wasted to go to Dubai?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Notice when I say they, I didn't say any political party.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Politics is politics.
Yep.
And they didn't have to give you the 1.2 million right up front, right?
No.
Give it to you in stages.
Because I got to create a business plan. I know. I want to get started. Business plan.
And then this is equipment you need. These are the staff you need. Okay, so you got 200,000 for that. 250 until you get up and running. See how simple that is?
Yeah, easy.
I know it's easy. My. And you are a Bahamian, aren't you not? Interested in farming. How many Bahamians are really interested in farming anymore?
Plenty.
See, that's the other thing.
They had hundreds of young people going through Bamsey, but after they didn't graduate,
there's nothing for them to go to.
On the streets.
No farm.
The land is there.
No farm. I know the land is there.
But they wouldn't even, because the initial plan was after they graduate, each one of those graduates was supposed to get 5 acres.
And what happened?
They never
Why?
came the plan because they play in political football.
I know.
So they know the plan because the plan was already initiated, but they never executed.
Yeah. First of all, there shouldn't be a Bamsey unless you have some farms available and land available and money available and the intent to do it.
And they have it. They have all of those things.
I know they have them.
They have all of those things.
And if they don't have them, we could get it.
Exactly.
Watch this. Let me show you something. Let's say they say the treasury broke. Let's use that one. We break. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Okay. We break. All right. Now watch this. Okay, we break. So you break. These people like you and the ship persons in Bamsey graduating to do farming, which we say we want to do so we become what? Self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Every potato, see, that's a Bahamian word for potato. Every potato we grow means that's one less we buy.
Yes.
Right? That means that's the savings in foreign exchange.
Yes.
Everything we grow, and even if we don't sell it internationally, we produce it locally, we don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our food bill is $1 billion.
I know. And I don't even want to confuse the country with that number. As soon as we hear that, we panic and say, let's keep buying it. See? Now watch this. And you and the other persons in Bamsey graduating and getting ready to graduate. All right. How many vehicles do we have in the Bahamas? Roughly 250,000?
Some people have 2 or 3,000.
I'd say 300,000.
Okay, let's say 300,000.
300,000.
Okay. And every year they have to be licensed?
Licensed. Yes.
Now we spend more money gambling, don't we?
Yeah.
Don't we? No, when I say we, I don't mean everybody.
Yeah.
I mean too many people.
Yeah.
Okay. So at the end of year 1, let's say this year, next year, whatever. When we go to license our vehicle, and I just picked the vehicle thing, doesn't have to be that.
Yeah, just one.
Let's say at the end of the year, Because see, now we need money for BAMSI and agriculture people
Yeah.
to get started, they say, because we break.
Yeah.
Okay, we break. Let me put that here. We fucking break. See that? Now, the poorest Bahamian is still gambling, are we not?
Yeah.
How much do you think the poorest Bahamian spends on average gambling per week?
$50.
Okay, let's get a minimum,
50.
probably 50.
More than that.
You'll
but
be
I'd
surprised.
generous. with
You'd
it.
be surprised. Let's say 50 minimum. Okay,
I'd be generous. with it.
anybody has a calculator? 50 times 200,000, how much is that? Anyone? If you can
I
get that on
I
your
used to
calculator,
gamble and I stop and I realize how much money I use.
wasting your time and money.
You understand?
That's 15 million.
How much?
15 million.
So we charge everybody who drives a car an extra $50, which nobody will feel. It generates how much?
15
You sure your machine is that right? You need to double check that, because it couldn't be.
times.
Because we paying what $150,000 an hour for license.
I'm not talking about the licensing. I'm just saying this is an agri tax.
Okay.
So we break now, remember?
All right,
We
all
break,
right,
we need
all
money
right.
dead bad
Yeah.
for agriculture.
Oh, yes.
How much is it?
And Bahamians would gladly pay that.
With a flash and more,
Would
if they
gladly
see
pay.
stuff growing,
Exactly.
happening.
And they can see it in the grocery stores.
You sure the numbers right? Okay, 15 freaking million. Now, Mr. Higgs, what could you and your gang at Gramsci graduates and all that do with 15 million? How much you said you needed? One.
1.2.
So that's 15, Mr. Higgs,
Yes.
right? And his gang out there doing like that, digging and doing what else?
With
Now,
5
now
acres, so-
farming is
so
more
that's-
technology. That's why you need.
No,
the million,
I
because-
know. I just saying digging just to make it interesting.
Yeah, I
There's some
understand.
machines out there.
Yeah.
Doggone
And
it.
if they give everybody 5 acres, that's still 5 times the 15 as well.
Exactly.
But we have more than enough acres. I'm
Yeah.
talking about no acres. I'm talking about the money. Because
Uh-huh.
acres without money is nothing.
And nothing. 'Cause
We
I-
have the acres, just give it.
Yeah,
Freaking give it. And tell them, sign a contract. If you don't do nothing, we take it back.
but it's
So let's
ours.
do that.
It
No,
ours.
no, I know.
It is ours.
I
We
know.
No,
already
let's,
inherited
No.
let's take it back.
No, I'm just
Let's take
saying,
back the
I'm
land.
just saying,
Don't do nothing.
if they give it to you for agriculture, you don't do anything,
Yeah.
or you decide to build a casino on it,
Yeah.
or your own thing, like, non-agriculture,
The pastors them take all them land and build subdivisions.
No,
depending on it.
I know. I'm not talking about the egg. I'm talking about how it should be.
No, okay.
And the only way you're gonna stop it, if you put things in place to stop it.
Yes.
We know they do that.
Yeah.
Now, 15 million? What the hell we can't get started with almost 15 million? Now watch this.
In 5 years,
Times
we'll be
2.
in billions.
How much Bahamians can feel $100 at the end of 1 year? None. Special agri tax. That becomes what, Miss Man? 15 million times 2? 30 million. And everybody who has a car only pays how much? 100 stinking lousy dollars.
Yeah.
Mr. Hicks?
Huh?
Oh,
Yeah, I see the numbers. That's what I said. I agree.
I know you
But the
agree.
government ain't gonna never do that. Because it is empowering too many Bahamians.
I understand. But you
And
never,
empowering
I
them
just,
to do
I
the
just,
thing.
I just throw it out there for the record. For you and the future generations, you never know. The next or the next might do it.
And that's the reason now because you asked me why I going into the rest. And that is why.
I understand.
That is the best way to keep out of the political fray and at the same time accomplish without them.
I understand, except unfortunately, it's not always good to get into agriculture without government. Because of the nature of agriculture. Not that you can't do it.
No, we have to because it's them who.
I understand.
They have the agricultural land. Let me tell you, the reason why and the agribusiness is so awesome is because now you have the US, the English, and other foreign companies on the government and the IDB giving them grants for agriculture. So now, only thing you have to do is set up a nice plan like the RIP that you can
I know.
consolidate these land and go forward for these grants.
And go for it.
Exactly.
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying, when you have a government of any country
Mhm.
who is prepared to subsidize and help, that makes it even more significant. Don't stop there, huh?
Mhm.
Because remember, governments around the world continue to subsidize agriculture depending on the country. Let's
Exactly.
not forget that. We are not unique,
No,
okay? And many countries like the US and Canada, their farmlands are shrinking, not growing. See, that's the next egg.
And shoot,
She
fellas
make it on their phone.
like Bill Gates, they buy in thousands of hectares. Why? Because they tapping into.
Who is selling it to the, well, they're buying it for the same reason the Chinese are buying it, to control, so that when you piss them off, they'll freak you out.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly.
That's not trust language. I just say it so you guys should remember. That's why. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's I don't care if it's recorded. I'm too old to worry about it now.
Yes, me too.
Oh,
Even though I know.
somebody came to me the other day. I said, they said, do you have anything against the Chinese? I said, nothing.
Nothing.
I said, however, we in the Bahamas should not sell them one more piece of land.
None.
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 If we decide to have them do anything, lease it, but you can't own it.
No.
Don't stop
None.
selling the.
Yes.
See, we don't, cause see, let me tell you something about Chinese and other people, but Chinese in particular, but other people with Chinese in particular, they buy land and they never sell.
Never.
And they do that for a reason, because eventually they use to control your environment and your economy.
Yep. Exactly.
They don't sell.
Exactly.
Check it. Very seldom, if ever. But in our greed, we don't stop to think, what is the real? You young, I just throw it out for you youngsters, because you guys are the future.
Like those hotels and thing in Freeport, and that was a perfect opportunity.
Same here.
For the government to purchase it.
Of course.
And develop it.
Listen,
And
whatever it is, that was the opportunity to make sure that they didn't get it. Even if other people in other countries sell property, but not the Chinese. Okay? You see, when they took that thing from Tom Joseph on the Bahama, who did they give it to? Why?
Okay. Plenty can
Nothing is
plenty
what
can
it seems to be.
You have that's like around that beach near Montague.
Yes.
You ever saw the sign?
Which one?
Like right in the middle, and say this area is donated or sponsored by
Sure.
Avalana. Stand up from the Chinese bottom.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, why?
No, they just beautify it. That's all.
Well,
Then you remember we used to see them with them fishing all the time, the Chinese.
yeah, that's part of the politics. See, you get into that, and then you start doing other stuff.
Exactly.
But
And
our
then
work,
their embassy right there.
sure. Did they lease the land for the embassy? No, they don't lease.
That's so
I
bad.
keep telling people, but they look at me strange, like, you don't like Chinese? Huh? Are you prejudiced? I'm like, there's nothing to do with prejudice. I don't have a bloody thing against them and their madness
I
and the
respect
madness
their
they perpetrate
business
on their
sense.
own children, people.
I respect their business sense. I respect their business sense.
Well, I respect it as long as it's up and above board. The only problem is, like many other business senses, it's not above board.
I even respect their ruthlessness.
Wow.
I even respect that. You gotta respect it because it brings results.
Well, I get your point, but I beg to differ. But I do get your point.
I don't say I like it.
No,
I
I know
never
what
said
you
I
mean.
like it.
I know. It's
I say I
different.
respect it.
I know. And we have to determine whether like or respect will dominate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Point well taken though. But again, it's like if somebody tells you, I hate you. Well, so what? You don't have to worry about it. As long as they don't try to take you
Unless
out.
they are the ones.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let it go. How we respond is what really matters.
Exactly.
That's the key. But yeah, that's a very good idea, the real thing. Keep it going. I just hope in the current environment you can pull it off. My God. It's going to be a challenge.
It is.
You've already tried the other route that was supposed to work.
Didn't work.
No, again. See, it didn't work again. That's not the first time somebody's tried it. Okay. My. All right. All done it. So we think the world is only about trust. Hell no. But it is about trust, but not that, no, this trust is
It's a matter of
It's
trust.
a matter of trust. All kinds of different trusts. All right. Lovette.
Yeah.
Yes. Walking right in the middle of this madness. Dandra. It's Dandra anyway. Hutchinson.
Yeah. Morning, everyone.
Good morning. Who said good morning?
This is Deandra Hutchison.
Oh, Deandra, good morning. I was just
here.
asking if you were there.
Yes, I am here, but I am very much has the flu. So
You have the flu?
yes, I'll
What the
be
hell would you
hanging
get the
on.
flu from?
My toddler
Where's my
and
mask?
preschool.
Like the same day I leave my mask, you guys decided to tell me there's a bad flu going. So Deandra, where'd you get it from?
My toddler and her preschool.
You got it from where?
My toddler, my daughter.
Stop it. And where oh, she got it from preschool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an old problem. Children go to school, pick it up from little children who picked it up from their family members,
Yes.
other family
It's
members, and then everybody's
it's
down in the dumps.
very frustrating.
I know. That's sick. Have you ruled out COVID?
Yes, I
Good.
did.
Oh, God, that's another problem. Nowadays, you have to check to see which one it is now.
Yeah, I think it's there's a new stream of flu or something out.
Yeah, it's out there. The winter's coming. It's to back again. Then we have COVID lurking around. Yeah. And so we have to, nowadays, when we get the flu, we have to check to make sure we don't have COVID. Okay. So you know what, Deandra, I'm happy you decide to sit in anyway. Kick back, relax, and don't stress while we get through the morning's affairs, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Quite welcome. If I call on you to read, just say, are you kidding me? You forgot?
Okay, I will.
Okay. Okay, Nathaniel is here today. Oh, got it, Ray.
Heat up the water.
He's giving medical.
Yeah.
Medical advice?
Put the water in, squeeze the lime, grate some ginger in it, and put honey. Honey is better than sugar. Yes, that's the remedy.
Okay, Siobhan.
That's me.
Yes, I have Siobhan's pen. Shay. Ashine?
Hello.
Did I mess it up again? What was I supposed to say again?
Ashay, yes, sir.
Shay. Okay.
Ashay.
Excellent.
Yes.
Alicia.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Alicia.
How are you?
Welcome aboard. And
Thank
of course, Miss Wright is not coming, right?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. Last week, we talked about, man, this is deep. See that?
The figures don't lie. Figures don't lie.
I know they don't.
The money is here. It's just
I know.
pooling the resources.
Listen, I knew it was here from I was a 19-year-old with an afro, even before I knew what I knew. So imagine all these decades later, I wouldn't say how many.
Exactly.
Yes, it's always been here.
Always. That's why the pirates was here and still here. The only man in the parliament.
Yeah. Some are in parliament and some are connected to the people in parliament.
That's my bread and butter.
All right. So last week we talked about in chapter 6 primarily two things. Can anybody remember what they were? Yeah, the trustee has certain duties. You can put here, and the trustee has certain powers. Can anybody remember the difference between the two? Or are they really the same? Are they the same? First of all, duties and powers. No. So what's the difference between the duty and the power?
You must complete the duties, but the power is more immediate.
Yes. In other words, duties are mandatory. How's that?
Yeah.
Nice word. Duties are mandatory. These are the very important things to remember. The other things are important to remember, like what they are, but these are the foundations. First of all, there's a duty and a power. The duties are mandatory and powers are what? Optional. You don't have to do it.
See, we say the settler and the trustee.
Trustee powers, that's what we're talking about in chapter 6. And duties. Now, does anybody remember some of the duties that we mentioned last week?
I was reading administrative,
Okay, administrative duties,
management,
management duties,
and what was the next
and the third one,
one? Duties of propriety
which means what?
must act accordingly and treat all beneficiaries fairly. And
Wow.
communicate with beneficiaries in a professional and timely manner.
Yes, duties of proprietary. There's no doubt the reason why they are called duties. They are mandatory because administering the trust should never be optional. I'll do it if I feel like it. Okay. The management of the trust should never be optional for obvious reason. And certainly, while some trustees might think that the proprietary side of it should be optional, it cannot be because who are the primary? Why do trustees exist? To serve who? Of course. So the proprietary side, meaning being open and honest and direct with them and clear with them, has to be mandatory. Simple. And once you understand it in that context, then it becomes very easy to deal with. Some trustee, remember, because somebody is a trustee, is referred to as a trustee, and has the duty of a trustee, that doesn't mean that they're always doing the right thing. True or false?
True.
No, just like a policeman. Is every police honest?
No,
Every bishop,
no,
every doctor,
no,
lawyer?
no.
No, they're always dishonest people or people who are doing things out of what they're supposed to be doing. In any session, anywhere.
Only 40% in fact, they asked me.
Only 40%?
Yeah.
Let me give them that percent. But yeah, not everybody is doing what they should be doing. Trustees are no exception. Okay. So these duties are mandatory. What about some of the optional powers? What are some of them? We had a long list, but let's look at a couple of them.
Investment,
The power to invest, yes.
insure,
The power to insure.
Power to sale,
The
power of sale,
power to sell, yeah. That's it.
power to employ
Power to
agents,
maintain, yes.
power to employ agents.
Power to employ agents, very important, all of
Yeah,
them.
that one was more important than that too.
That's it.
No,
It's a long list of powers.
compromise liabilities and settle claims.
Yeah, acknowledge liabilities and settle claims against the trusts.
Power to apply
Jeez.
to the court.
Power to apply to the court, absolutely.
Advancement,
Power to advance. Lots of powers.
concur with others.
Power to confer and get advice from others, absolutely. The only problem with these powers, is there any one of these powers that are unimportant? None. All of them are important. The only problem is they are optional. The trustee is not mandated to exercise any of them. The only problem is if they don't and something goes wrong, they might be found to be what? In breach of?
Their duties.
We have a nicer name that we use in trust transfer. In breach of?
The trust instrument.
Yeah, in breach of the trust instrument, okay? If they don't exercise the appropriate powers. In breach of the trust instrument. Now, if you do not exercise your power, you may be in breach if something goes wrong. If you don't exercise your duty, you are in breach. See the difference? And remember I told you last week that beneficiaries, especially modern beneficiaries, are always watching. Remember them? Who are the beneficiaries again? Yeah, the persons who are waiting to get their share of whatever has been left in trust to them. Now, if any of you are not yet beneficiaries, one day you might be, like a parent might die and leave you something, or a grandparent or an uncle or something. Great grandmother, lucky you.
Yeah, but I have to sue the executive now.
Of course, that's normal.
Yeah.
Not normal.
Now that I
It
know
happens.
trust law, now that I know I have rights to do it.
Yeah, knowledge is power, isn't it?
Exactly,
A lot of people still don't know,
exactly.
okay? But if you are expecting something, you're lucky, because a lot of us don't have anything to expect,
No.
okay? When I graduated high school, my mom said, son, I've done all that I can. And to be honest with you, I wonder how the hell she got that far. Because, you know, she was one of those chicks who had to, like, ASU draw, work in a thing store, like, left school at 14, you know, that old school crazy stuff, without all the opportunities other people had. So that was her thing.
So now that you say knowledge is power, I hope you say another trust for your generation.
Well, first of all, they had the good fortune of having me their entire lives until they become men.
Yeah, he wasn't there last week. Got the full scope.
See, a lot of people leave stuff, but they don't leave other important stuff. They leave material, but not the other things. So they had the good fortune of having their father then, from they were born, right up there, up there. I remember the doctor, one of the doctors, a Jamaican doctor, so my wife was, when she was in labor, he was there waiting for the baby, and I was on the side getting it. He said, Mr. Wilkinson, could you move aside a little? I said, if you insist, but I'm not leaving. So they had the good fortune from then until they became men and finally set out on their own. And still every now and then the phone rings, at least from my youngest son anyway. And that's okay, because he just graduated college just last year, so he don't know what the hell he's doing yet, even though he's a man. But yeah, and they had the good fortune of not having to get student loans. See, is that a big deal?
Yes.
Damn right it is. I'm still paying back something from student loans.
Exactly.
Because I had to pay my own way.
Yeah, but
Just like you guys work full time. They didn't have to do a bloody thing and cruise off the college and say when some crap like that. And I'm thinking, you know what? I should have flicking. Yeah.
Fox David Lane, have you set up a trust?
I know he's looking to the material side of things. He doesn't recognize that I'm ignoring it for the moment.
Yes.
But I get your point.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
And all I can say is, after all that stuff I've done for them, if anything is left for a trust, they will be freely entitled to it. See my point? I can't promise them after all that crap. Now, had I ignored them and kept my money, then I would have material stuff, but then they wouldn't have me. And who would pay their school fees, who would pay their medical bills, and who would pay their this and that and colleges? See my point?
Yeah, but you still missing my point.
No, I'm not.
With a trust, you create a family bank.
No, you're talking about at the end when I'm dead.
No,
I'm
once you're alive.
No,
Once you're alive.
that's not the kind of trust that I'm interested in.
Okay. You should be.
Okay? Only sufficient that if I had died in the event they were little, that's different.
And that's why the wealthies keep getting wealthier.
Maybe, but that's the only reason. The wealthy keep getting wealthier because they respect what?
The trust instruments.
No. You say you didn't like it, but you respect it. What is that?
Oh, their business sense.
But that's a nice word for it. What's the other word?
With their ruthlessness.
Yes. Let's be real.
Okay then.
Okay.
Okay, you said you will be real. If you're living in a society of ruthlessness, your pastors being passive isn't going to benefit you anything because you become a victim.
Point well taken. But should we be ruthless to get what we want?
No, you should learn how to defend yourself from the ruthlessness.
Is that always possible to get stuff?
It is possible because that's why we're taking up the trust.
Sounds good. I'm so happy to hear that somebody is prepared to do the what?
Right.
Correct. That's really my point. Because a lot of people who have stuff, they did not do it the right way.
Like I tell you, they make asinine decisions with the wealth that they.
Oh, no, I don't mean those people. I mean the other people.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean the people who took all the Bahamian land and then start selling it later on.
Yes. And our resources.
Yes.
But
That's
still,
what I mean.
because every Bahamian can be wealthy if we just allow three Bahamians to tap into this aragonite and only just one.
Aragonite? We can't even tap into the substance to grow food to eat.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
The Ragonite is wasting over the shelf every day. But yet we can't tap into it
Why not?
because they're holding us from it.
Who are they?
The government.
Which one?
The government.
I know what you mean.
The
I'm just
government.
being the
Advocate.
advocate.
Exactly.
All right.
Don't worry, I'll be the good people advocate.
Doggone it. That sounds good. Now we're getting what we're going. Okay. So this thing you want to do, Mr. Hicks, is it a duty or a power that you want to do?
It's a duty.
For you, it's a duty, which means that what you're trying to do is now mandatory.
Yes, sir.
Okay, doggone it. So you can apply this stuff in all kinds of different ways. Way to go, way to go. All right. So having said that, where did we stop the last time? Did we get to the end?
Yeah.
Not quite.
Trustee Powers.
Yeah, we're down, yeah, somewhere around in the middle of trustee powers. Yeah, we finished the duties and we were looking at trustee powers. Now, if you look at page, what number this is? Let's see. 49 in the middle, you notice there was a little thing when we were talking about duties. In addition to the foregoing duties, trustees must, a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's a long list.
Which page you said it is?
The middle of page 49. At least in my text.
Yeah, in that text, because
That's okay. Go to the section in the middle, or whatever page you're on. It says, in addition to the foregoing duties. Anybody see that? And the trustee duties.
on the trustees' duties.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the list, trustees list.
It's
Put it
a
again,
long
put it
list.
again. Right there. Right there, right there, right there. In addition, your finger, go down, your finger on it.
In the
Finger
middle.
on it.
Yes, oh,
Yeah.
in addition to the foregoing.
Yes.
duties. Okay,
Absolutely.
Yeah, page.
yeah, 60.
Oh, for you guys, it's 60.
Yeah.
Doggone it. At least different page, same language. That's good. So yeah, these duties go on and on and on.
Mhm.
Okay. Interestingly enough. So when you decide to become a trustee of a trust, you've taken on a huge responsibility. I hope I made that clear between last week and the last few moments. It's a huge responsibility. Remember, we said last week that there are two types of trustees. Anybody remembers? Two types of trustees. One is called the individual trustee.
And professional.
And professional.
I hope you remember the difference between the two. The individual trustees, you and I, somebody leaves us in charge of their stuff to take care of their children, family, whatever the case might be, as opposed to the professional trustee, which is made of all kinds of professionals headed by a trust administrator who takes on tens of millions and billions of dollars even to administer from 1 year to the decade to a century, even if necessary. So as the wealth continues to roll over, the trustees keep carrying out their trust duties and powers. Okay, very important. So if you're an individual, don't presume or presume that you cannot be a trustee. You can, but just know that being a trustee, I think you've got already, is no child's play. It's like being an executive in a state. See, you're saying he's gonna fight with his executive because all executives don't do what beneficiaries want them to do. And it's not always their fault, but sometimes it's their fault. Because some executives are taking it personally, like it's their own stuff. Right? Just like certain trustees. Yeah. She doesn't deserve it. I don't like it anyway. Let me see what it wasn't. Yeah, Deandra. There's a Siobhan. Say Siobhan don't deserve it. I don't like Siobhan anyway. And all she can do is give it to her child, and see, people getting all kind of stupid stuff. Oh, exactly. And make no mistake, even and that can happen with an individual trustee in a will, an executor, better known as an executor. But it can also happen with professional trustees, where it definitely shouldn't happen, but it does. Because there's some trustees who like some beneficiaries more than others. Hell, you could like them, but don't let that mess with your judgment. But it does. Because people treat you the way they feel about you, not necessarily the way they should. Feel. I like you, so I don't care if you're a dog. I like you, so I'm going to do what you want. I hate you. I don't care if you're a nice person, so I'm going to egg you up. That's not the way to do it. But I guess as long as human nature exists. And so in this discussion, and that's why we have laws and we have trust instruments and we have lawyers, so that whenever there's a dispute, because people are not always going to do things the way they should. For sure. Even your own spouse sometimes. Especially? How could that be you're in the same bed every night? Is that possible, Mr. Hicks? Family members even who you say you trust. And some of our family members are the most trustworthy people on the face of the earth.
I call them relatives, they're not family.
Wow. So yeah, the challenges are real. We're here, of course, to discuss what it ought to be. But we know in the real world, folk know. And so we have to use the ought to be to see if we can get through the madness. That's the key. All right. So trustee powers then, on the other hand, a whole list of other things that we talked about, these things over here. It's called an array of powers, because an array, a whole list of stuff that they have the power to do. They may not exercise all of them. They should exercise most of them, because each and every one of these are important to the proper and efficient functioning of the trust. Again, doesn't matter whether it's an individual or personal. Now, an individual trustee may not get into all the details of this crazy stuff, because usually an individual trust is not left with a whole bunch of assets. Maybe in rare cases, but not much. Okay. But when it comes down to professional trustees, these are those trust companies that have millions and billions of dollars in legacy funds in their trust to administer from one generation to the next. Okay, for sure. All right. And we looked at these powers last week, the power to invest so that the trustee can grow, the power to confer, to get advice, the power to get agents to do certain things like invest monies that the trust has. Remember, the trustee is not a professional in every area, and you're not required to be. That's why you have these powers, so that you can get the relevant persons to do the work that you need. Certainly, last but not least, the power to petition the courts. Just how beneficiaries can present matters to the court to sue the trustee can present issues to the court in their interest to protect the trustee's interest.
How long do you think a case like that would take to be resolved?
Anywhere from a month to years. Of course.
And then in that case, what happens with the assets?
They just sit
They freeze them.
if necessary. The court will direct as necessary. So for example, if there's a dispute, but every year beneficiaries are entitled to $50,000, depending on the nature of the case, the court might authorize the release of the $50,000 pending the outcome of the case. If that release is going to impact the outcome of the case in any material way, the court might say, sorry, everything is frozen until this matter is resolved.
And after the matter is resolved, she's coming back.
Of course. And not only back for their money, but retroactively. They want all that they didn't get the year before and the year before that. Absolutely. So disputes are always a problem. Okay. And usually it's always best as usual if you can settle out of court, but all too often that does not happen. Going to court is very expensive and very unpredictable, whether you're an individual or a trustee. Same as people going to divorce courts. A lot of people who are getting divorced can save themselves a lot of money and stress by not going. Just go to a mediator and agree. But most of us don't want to just agree because we want more than we're entitled to. We want to egg somebody up. We have all kinds of different ulterior motives. And as a result of that, we can't agree and won't.
Mainly spitefulness.
Whatever the reason, spitefulness is on top of the list of things ending up in court. When in fact, if you put it down, you can still agree to something reasonable and everybody save, everybody's stressed.
Yep.
Okay. Same thing with beneficiaries and a trust. A lot of it can be discussed and agreed, but people have all kinds of different motives. Wow. Yeah, oh yeah, all kinds of things are involved. Your dog, when I'm finished, I don't want you to have nothing. Should a court allow one person to have nothing? No, they shouldn't. They do sometimes. Not nothing, but equivalent to nothing. Should not happen. Which means that the court itself is driven by their own personalities and issues, which it shouldn't be.
Exactly.
Because if you go before a female in a divorce case, she's going to be more favorable to you having nothing left. Not necessarily, I'm not saying that's always the case. With some females are fair. But all too often, she may be driven by her emotions. Or maybe some guy made her mad, left her, dropped it, do some nonsense. And then now she takes it out on you.
Punching by that.
Yeah, but not as much. Male judges are not as susceptible to that.
Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of on the men's side, that the women didn't do what they needed to do in the relationship, so the man shouldn't have to pay them as much in alimony.
I agree.
What's not?
Yeah, because a lot of chicks just come and cool out, and then when they're ready to leave, it's after their share and more. And how do you differentiate between those things? It's hard to differentiate. It takes a wise judge, male or female, to work through it. And we don't always have that being the case.
Yeah. So true.
So it's a very tricky. That's why we say God we trust. Everything else is a little debatable.
That's why the song says keep it keep it.
Sometimes, provided she decides to stay. Because no matter how you try to keep her because it's cheaper, she may figure that out too.
Yeah.
And she said, boy, she didn't even call you by your first name. Your first name is Hicks?
Exactly. So if she
What's your first name?
Nathaniel.
Yeah, remember when you were dating? First she was mad.
Oh, yeah.
After that, by the time of divorce?
Babe.
Yeah.
Hey, how the first name? His first name is
Hey,
Babe.
honey. Then when it's time for divorce, fucking Nathaniel.
Yeah.
And then when it starts to get hot, and furthermore, Mr. Hicks over here. And if it really gets spicy, yeah, you don't even have a name anymore.
Sorry, you be into it.
Hell no.
Oh, witness it.
Yeah, I've seen people go through it all the time, decades. Somebody's going through it now by the hundreds and thousands.
Yes.
That's the whole problem. Yeah, but what can we do? It's an egg. All right. So let's drop down then to page 51, beginning with additional powers. Now, with this array of powers, like who the hell needs more powers? Okay?
62.
Oh, 62, yeah.
That'll be the
additional powers.
Fifth paragraph.
Yeah. So what are these additional powers now? Anyone? Additional? Do they need more additional of that?
What page did you say, please?
Sorry?
621.
By the provisions of the trust.
The page number.
How come you have this bloody thing so low?
What's
You know how
the
to-
page number? The
Yeah.
page number.
Yeah, help Lovette. I know you guys. Maybe on the side somewhere.
Almost.
No. Where? Oh. Yeah. So that's what the problem with remote stuff. They get lost.
Yeah. It's page 62.
Okay. Thank you.
So the fifth paragraph.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank God. Thank you very much, Lovette. Doggone it. Yeah. In Lovette, we trust now.
Yeah.
Only today.
Only hey, don't mess with me tomorrow. Somebody might piss me off by then. Today's oh yes, that's right. I forgot.
29.
Oh man.
I'm playing that.
I thought you stopped.
It's a birthday, it's a special occasion.
Somebody told me when I was coming, they stopped at the gas station. Their son is 9 today. So they asked me. They said,
Oh my God, 929, block that, block that. Some other nonsense with it.
929?
Yeah, 929 it, 292 it. whatever folks
I
do.
observe that.
Happy birthday, Lavette. Have a good one.
Yeah, way to go. It's all done it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like, yeah. I couldn't see Lavette that clearly with these fast didn't work from here. But when she came here, I'm like, stop it. What the hell's going on? Now I see why. She's all gone.
I thought she was going to the Juve party after this class.
Okay, so our job then, folks, is to get her out of here as quickly as.
You good?
I know.
No, the party will start till the night.
No.
So I have a little time then to get through my thing. Okay, great. Alicia, get somebody online, send it home.
Hi.
Since you guys are home in pajamas, Alicia, why don't you start the reading off for us today? Additional powers. I don't know what they could be.
Okay. So additional powers conferred by sections 14 to 31 of the Trustee Act 1998. And then in brackets, unless some contrary provision exists in the trust instrument, the trustee's powers may be restricted or increased by the provisions of the trust instrument.
Now that's interesting. So with all of these powers going on, we can either restrict some of them or we can add to them. But we'd have to do that where? In the trust instrument. Okay?
Right.
Let me ask you guys a question. If you haven't at least located the Trustee Act of Bahamas 1998, you should. I don't suggest you try and read the whole act before your semester is done, but certainly you want to flip through it, look at the cover page, table of contents, see what's kicking in the Trustee Act, and even if something catches your attention, go ahead and read it. Certainly where there's reference in your text to the Trustee Act and the amendments, you may want to go and have a look just to see if the textbook is telling the truth. Okay. So far in your trust experience, which of the two do you think dominate, the trust instrument or the Trustee Act?
The trust instrument.
She says the trust instrument. Any disagreements?
No, because I feel the trust instrument is based on the Trust Act, and once it is already established, well, because there always is amendments to the act, but the trustee instrument governs the trustees. So I feel the trust instrument is more than the act.
It is, and it should be. Okay. The act will govern how we behave, and also there to defend the instrument. In other words, if there's a dispute, everybody runs to the instrument to see if it's there. And if they can't get it resolved from the instrument, everybody runs to the court, pulls out the act, and then use that to defend their case, as well as the instrument itself. So yes, the key, it's just like a contract. When you enter a contract, you don't go to the law first. You may consult it, but you enter a contract, and it doesn't end up in the hands of the law until somebody decides to what? Breach the contract in any form or fashion. And then we go to see what the law has to say. Okay. All right, keep going.
Okay, notwithstanding this fact and the fact that a trustee's power may be expanded by the Trustees Act of 1998 and the Trustees Amendment Act 2011, a trustee should ensure that the trust instrument provides sufficiently for the powers so that he is able to discharge his duties and responsibilities efficiently and effectively.
Interesting. So these powers cannot just be drummed up in your head. They have to actually be put in writing. Yes. And therefore, if the power is not in the instrument, then you cannot exercise it. Okay, folks? That's the interpretation here. It's just like remuneration. Remember last time, that funny word, remuneration? If that is not built into the trust agreement, you cannot get paid. And if somebody forgot to put it in and you can't get paid as a result, doesn't mean that you should just jump off the bridge. You can petition the courts and say, we forgot to put it in, somebody did left it out deliberately, whatever the reason, and ask the court to come up with a what? Reasonable remuneration for your services, which typically the courts will do. The courts don't always want to do stuff that's not in the act, but in some cases, in case of equity issues, fairness, the court will get involved and say, hey, you did this work, you've proven it, or you are entitled to some kind of form of remuneration. Okay, by all means. Because when everything else is unfair, the courts are expected to be fair.
Yeah.
My. I wonder what's going to happen when AI takes over the court. We all hung on AI, technology, all this stuff.
I actually would, to be honest with you.
This guy's really reckless, isn't he?
So then-
Who the hell would like AI to take over the court?
No, because see, AI, you gotta realize, AI takes the emotions out of it, and they will focus in on what is.
But AI is only as effective as the human who created it.
Exactly.
So what do you think the human is going to do to the AI sooner or later? Corrupt it.
Yes.
Yes.
But the system
Corrupt it.
The system is corrupt anyway.
That's okay. The devil we have.
Than a person than a computer.
Yes. Because now if it's the person, we can deal with them directly. If it's a computer, then we have to bring the computer up, then deal with them. 2 steps to set up.
It's going to be the same process. When the AI becomes faulty, you got to blame whoever's programming it.
We ain't ready for that.
No.
We can barely get the passport thing right. You think for something like that.
But like I said, the AI is only going to focus on the instruments of the law.
My.
Maybe
Yes.
the person
But they
who
wouldn't
developed it.
They wouldn't have no empathy.
Exactly.
No.
And that's what we need out of the law.
No,
Not always.
Sometimes you need empathy.
Because
And
see,
sometimes you do
if are
need
you
it.
married?
I was.
Okay, doggone it. They need empathy then. So the point I'm making is sometimes empathy is required. Compassion is required. Common sense is required. Machines don't have any of those.
Well, for me,
None of those.
because at the end of the day, it still boils down to what is in law, instrument of the law. So you could bring in all the emotional benefits, but at the end of the day, it's all based on what's.
Remember now, not necessarily. Yes, the law is there. But when it comes to sentencing, remember, 2 people can make murder, the same murder. And depending on which judge they sit before, they don't get the same sentence.
Now in that case.
But AI would get the same sentence because it will be programmed to give it.
Exactly.
Any kind of murder, shoot it.
Yeah.
No matter if it was an accident, it was murder, then that's because AI cannot differentiate.
But like you say, in the law, I see the case. As far as the case based on the evidence.
I
Then
know.
when it comes to sentences, then I can see, okay, then you take the emotions into consideration.
Well, which AI would not be able to do. And that's really the core issue.
Yeah.
Okay? When it comes to the sentencing and passing the judgment.
So
Absolutely.
in that case, I don't think AI
No.
can be a part of that part.
Well,
But adjudicating the case, I believe the AI can do that effectively more than a human being.
we shall see. We shall see. I won't be here. I'll be on cloud something having a martini. They're not martinis in heaven though.
They have coconut water.
That's okay. That's
and
okay.
Cloud juice.
I don't drink anyway, so I'll be fine. While you guys are not fighting with AI. All right, keep going, Alicia.
Okay. More specifically, trustees have the full powers of individual beneficial owners absolutely entitled, where they hold real property and also have the power to borrow trust funds in certain specified circumstances. A trustee's power of discretion.
Sorry, question. Okay, which one was part of it?
It's the fact that they can borrow.
Okay.
I mean, specify to themselves, like what would be the trustee?
First of all, that's a good question. Secondly, that should be a very serious exception and nowhere near the rule. An example of that might be, see, it's hard for a professional trustee who has his own money. You'd wonder, like, why would they want to borrow from the trust fund? See my point?
Yeah.
But there might be a case in point, God forbid, and it would have to be presented on a case-by-case basis, where the trustee might say to the beneficiaries, we would like to borrow $1 million from the trust fund. The beneficiary's first question would be what? For what? purpose. And the question is, what bloody purpose would they have for borrowing from the trust fund? And so we'll have to see. We can make up any purpose. Okay? So the key here is that they can, with permission from the beneficiaries. What could that possibly be? We can only speculate. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I could give you one reason. Maybe the trustee wants to borrow money in order to insure certain assets
Of who?
of the trust.
Okay. But I mean, wouldn't that be as a power already? The power to insure?
Yeah, but then instead of using the trustee funds, they may want to borrow it for some strange reason. See my point? Or borrow money to invest in order to make money. How's that?
Yeah.
See, something like that. Again, that would be on a very individual basis. But if it ever comes up, they have the power to do it. That's the point. So that's a good point, because you shouldn't see that too often.
I
Okay?
don't even see a case study.
No, that's the whole point. That's some serious exception. There are no reference to a case, nothing. Because you shouldn't be saying that too often.
Because normally they do it privately, it's limitation.
If it ever happens at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess we can throw that in there to say, okay, just in case something extraordinary happens, you have the power to do that, as you have the power to do all these other crazy things in the trust. Okay. Okay, keep going, Alicia.
A trustee's power of discretion may be used in many ways to protect a beneficiary, including the power to withhold income payments to a beneficiary and apply these payments otherwise, particularly where such payments may be claimed by the beneficiary's creditors. A trustee may also make distributions to the beneficiary under certain conditions in order to protect the trust property from being dissipated.
Yeah, what does this dissipated mean, anyone? Yeah, broken up or depleted. Okay. And so if the trustee needs to insure a particular asset, they, instead of making payments to the trust to the beneficiary that year of any income that they're supposed to get, they may decide to divert it. And then the beneficiary, what the hell, where's my money? He says, well, I'm covering your asset.
So that would be the discretionary trust.
For the discretionary trust, absolutely.
Okay.
Because remember, the discretionary trust means that the trustee can do it in their discretion.
Right.
Okay, they're not stuck with a fixed set of their instructions as it is in a fixed trust. In a fixed trust, if it has to be very specific. If it's not there, the trustee cannot do it, no matter how they feel. So in other words, if a beneficiary is crippled and the fixed trust doesn't say, take care of that beneficiary, no matter how the trustee feels, they cannot do it. And then but this person is handicapped. Yes, but for whatever reason, the settlor did not include that person. It says we should pay to you and you only, not to that person. Now, if you want to help that person, then you're free to do it. But if it's not in this, now in a discretionary trust, things are completely different. If each beneficiary is entitled to $50,000 a year, if one is handicapped, it may require what? More than $50,000 because of their position. So in the trustee's discretion, those who are up and kicking get the $50,000, but the person who requires more care might end up with $100,000. Does that mean the others will not fight and gripe about it? Sure, they do sometimes. The trustee will just have to prove us why, cares to some extent. They don't have to prove everything they do in the discretion. But the trustee might say, okay, since you gripe, we're doing it because this person requires more care than you. And of course, some beneficiaries may not believe that. They say, you can't prove it. You might be lying. Well, it's not hard to prove care, is it? Just find the documentation. It's when people ask for proof and you can't prove it. That's when people have a problem, even though you might be telling the truth. But sometimes people are not telling the truth. And therein lies the problem. Okay, Alicia, keep going.
Okay. Trustee minutes are often used to document the reasons and discussions made by a trustee committee for a professional trustee's discretion in the exercise of its discretionary powers. These minutes are protected from disclosure under the Trustees Act 1998, as they are not considered trust property subject to the beneficiary's right to information and access.
Interesting. Beneficiaries. So if one of you guys become a beneficiary one day, you're not entitled to trustee minutes. Beneficiaries want to see trustee minutes because they want to see how the trustee is thinking. Under the law, you're not entitled to that.
Sure. Right.
You sure you can request it anytime you want, but under the law, you're not entitled to see that. Most time, 99% of the time, it will be denied. Well, it's the trust administrator who has the minutes. Yeah, good question. Yeah, it's you they're trying to get it from.
Yeah.
Remember, the trust administrator is really the person hired by the trust company to administer trusts. So the trust administrator is part of the trust company, and they're the ones who sit and make decisions and put them in the minutes. And as a result, they're not entitled to give the beneficiaries any access to the minutes, because beneficiaries want to see who got what,
Right.
especially in a discretionary trust. Follow? And all that information should be where? In the minutes. You're using proper minutes.
I remember the first section, said also trustee,
Sure.
right? So,
And the beneficiary.
I'm a beneficiary. That is a history. So, say, for instance, I'm the citizen, I'm a beneficiary, and my kids then want to have
Access to the minutes?
access to the minutes. In my discretion, I can either give it, don't give it.
Based on this point here, should we give it to them? Anyone? No. But why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't he?
So you want me to settle the trustee and the beneficiary?
But it could be.
I could be.
Yeah.
Under modern trust law.
I get that, but at the same time, why would you want to give their kids the information if something that you're already dictating as the settler?
Not only that is required that you don't have access to it.
Right.
What you're gonna do as a settler beneficiary who gives the children the information as beneficiaries is create all kind of havoc. But there's something in the minutes that they disagree with, and they're gonna start suing the trust. And you. Yeah. Sure, you could do it, but it's not in your best interest to do it. Nor the trust.
Like, let's say we're
Trust me.
in the deed, he'll make provisions for what would happen to the trust do that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, which is not good. That's not the ideal trust. But under modern trust law, you're allowed to do it. Okay? And whenever that is allowed, we have to be very careful with that kind of trust. That kind of trust is open to be challenged as a sham trust. That kind of trust is open to be challenged. Yeah, or for all kinds of different reasons. All right? Because that's not your ideal trust. All right, for sure. Really, the ideal trust is where the settlor, the trustee, and the beneficiaries are all separate. Not one person being two or more things. Hell no. That in itself is a suspicious transaction. May not be any ill intent, but it is suspicious. Like, why would you want to be all?
No, I don't want, I mean, that's a question.
Like, that's the question, like, why would you?
It happens, so
in modern trust law, it can happen. We have provisions in our trustee act to do it. In the jurisdictions of the Caribbean and certain other locations to do it. Like Isle of Man and stuff. They in the modern trust law, they do it. Not certainly not the traditional trust. Hell no. Okay. That's why so many trusts are under contention because of modern trust law. Like anything else is modern. We allow too many things, like we want to change the gender of children. And we're saying now it's okay to do it when they're children. We're not even waiting for them to turn 18. See, that's modern. That's modern garbage.
Even now we have that going on. I hope the schools that will.
Sure, already. But I haven't heard any pastor speak against it. Why not?
Because they like it.
Oh.
Because they know what's coming.
But shouldn't pastors and bishops be the one the first to speak up?
No,
Because
not if they part of the problem.
no, we know that. So were the Pharisees of Jesus' time, but it doesn't change the fact.
It doesn't.
No. That's why God said, I'm not the same now as ever. In other words, right is right no matter what the circumstances are.
Exactly.
I don't care how modern society gets, a lie is still a what?
A lie.
A freaking lie. See my point? Modernity doesn't change a lie. Modernity or modern stuff doesn't change murder, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Still wrong. That's my point. All right. But yes, we are confronted and we have to make choices as usual. My. Alicia, keep going. You're the one who's
With regard to the delegation of trustee powers, the general principle is that a trustee cannot delegate his power as to whom and to what extent trust property may be distributed. However, a trustee may delegate certain duties and tasks in the administration of trusts that may contribute to the exercise of a trustee's powers in the distribution of trust property.
Now, another interesting point. A trustee cannot delegate his authority as trustee, but he can delegate the function, see? He can hire an investment manager. He can go to a financial institution and settle debts. He can petition the court through lawyers, see? But at the end of the day, who's ultimately responsible? The trustee. If the lawyer messes up, the trustee can't say the lawyer did it. He could say it, but the court will still hold him liable. If the investment manager messed up, he can say to the beneficiaries, well, it wasn't me, it was the investment manager. You could say it, but they're going to still sue you, the trustee. Now, if they find you guilty, meaning something went wrong, even though it may not be your responsibility as a trustee, it's the investment manager's fault. You still have to pay as trustee. And then if you want your money back, what do you have to do? Sue the investment manager.
Exactly. My smart thing would be is when you find the problem, you sue them before you get it.
If necessary. But it doesn't always work though. You don't know until after the fact when things go wrong, because we don't know which beneficiaries are going to react. So you can tell some beneficiaries the value of your investment has gone down. It's see you next year.
Well, I beg the difference because then that will definitely be what do you call it, degradation of duties by the trustee, because the trustee should be on top of the investment manager.
Sure, but they're not always on top.
Exactly.
We know that. We should be on top of our spouses too.
Yeah.
But we don't always know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Our children, we don't know that same thing. You're right. Trustees shouldn't delegate and walk away.
But that's different between professional relationship and personal relationship.
Even professional trustees don't do it efficiently enough because they hire people to do it, and the people they hire to do it don't always do it effectively. So, but yes, when you delegate, you're supposed to check.
Exactly.
That's why you cannot give the excuse that you didn't know,
Exactly.
even though it might be a legitimate excuse. Because once we hire a professional, what do we expect them to do? Be a professional, do it right.
Exactly.
Doesn't always work that way.
No, it don't.
All right. So if you delegate it, even if something goes wrong and you can prove that you were checking, that might help your case as a trustee. Maybe.
As long as you're getting what do you call it, remuneration, you're getting paid to check. So you deserve to get sued if you was.
Well, they're going to sue you on even if you're not remunerated. Once you're a trustee, remember, remuneration is just a sidekick.
No, I'm just saying.
I know, but it doesn't change whether you get sued or not.
Yeah, I know it doesn't.
Yeah.
You should get sued even more because you're getting paid to do it.
And of course, that's where AI wouldn't be able to function. That's where the individual judge will function.
Okay.
Since you're a trustee being paid all this money, see, that's the point. As a result, they can make a judgment call. That's why machines will never replace humans, because they cannot make judgment calls.
No, they will never, because the AI can only be as smart as the person who programs it.
That's it, and nothing more, or as slick as the person who programs it,
Exactly.
or as functional as the dysfunctional person who programs it.
But like I said, who police the police? Okay.
Who police the police, anyone? Who? Yeah, and us. Everybody's supposed to police the police.
Exactly.
Okay.
But we don't have the power.
Well, we have the power to report.
Yeah, that's it.
We don't have the power to charge and convict, but we have the power to report. And then hopefully we can find one honest police to arrest that one.
Or one, what do you call this, public defender who would take the case.
Of course.
All right.
Same old problem as always. And nothing is going to change until Christ comes.
No, that's why I love AI.
Okay.
Make you complain, adjudicate.
Well, unfortunately, you're not going to be around to see the ravages of AI. So, but your point is taken in theory. See, in theory.
In theory.
Yes. Just like when you're dating someone in theory, say,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is the best thing ever. Yeah. Until others sick. You lift them over the threshold and time passes.
Yeah.
They say, what the flick?
Oh my God.
Somebody discovered they married up something.
Call it.
Okay, keep going, Alicia. I don't know what you keep bringing
Okay.
stuff up. Causing Mr. Hicks to. Okay, keep going.
A trustee's power or discretion must be a positive mental act and must not result from his omission or inaction. Additionally, trustees are not compelled to give reasons for the decisions, particularly to the beneficiaries.
See, not
A
compelled.
trustee-
Absolutely not. No matter what the beneficiary says, they're not compelled. That's the law. Okay.
A trustee must take particular care that his powers are exercised honestly. Otherwise, any dishonest or improper exercise of his powers will invalidate it and any distribution made to the beneficiaries, depending upon the facts in every case.
Kiss my foot. That means if it's discovered that he acted dishonestly in making distribution of a particular beneficiary, if somebody finds out and discovers that he was dishonest in his actions, then they could retract it. But I already spent it. Well, then maybe the trustee has to take it out of the trustee fund. Fees, trustee, fees. Because then the person, you spent it, great. And I'm suing you, Mr. Trustee. Take it of your own money because you've been found to be dishonest in your distribution practices.
Yes.
See, that's why last week we talked about the F word. It's not the one you think. Yes, what is it?
Fiduciary.
Yes. Fiduciary. It's the common denominator of the trustee's job. See? Not the numerator. The numerator is all this other crap. Not crap, you know what I mean? There's other stuff. But the common denominator, this. Our fiduciary responsibility. We must do everything in good faith. That's why we are trustees of our children, because our children trust us, don't they? Yes. Everything. When my children were small, I put them on, they jump. They didn't say, why, daddy? They do like this. Keep the seat. As far as I'm concerned, I was going, yes. Even now that they're men, they still think that. I said, what the hell's going to happen when they discover that I'm a mere mortal? Because see, they put their trust completely. Yes. Even as adults, not only as children, they grow up with it. So if I do something that's untrustworthy, they'll be like, what the? Like,
Exactly.
my daddy? Because they still have that level of trust. That's how serious that crap is. And so professional individual trustees, that's the bottom line. No matter what the law says and the instrument says and all the other stuff, powers, duties. See? So now, even though they're grown up, I'm still like a kind of constructive trustee, not directly anymore, because they're men. But I'm now like a constructive trustee. Like they still have this like watching me, so what I'm gonna do next. Indirectly. So if I add, like if you see me in the face of Samuel Wilkinson or Stephen, they'd be like, what the flick?
Not my daddy.
No way. You people have the wrong man.
Yes.
So now I'm still like this. I have to still walk or what? Yeah, even though they're men.
Exactly.
Because that's how this thing works, see? Absolutely. The strange phenomena. Trusteeship. All right, keep going, Alicia.
Equally important is the fact that trustees must exercise their discretion within a reasonable time, which again depends upon the facts of every case. Other circumstances regarding the time and type of the exercise of the power of discretion may determine whether it will be validated or not.
Now,
The
sorry, before you go to the last paragraph, the trustee has discretion, which means they can do things as they see fit in their discretion. But for example, a trustee might not like a beneficiary because they're fussy, argumentative, question everything, tell the trustee, I hate you for some reason, or whatever the reason. And so in his discretion or her discretion, they decide, while all the trustees will get their distribution on the 30th of the month, this one will get it on the 30th of the third month. See?
What?
Because they don't like that one, that's all.
But you know what I find interesting with trust? That's like, okay, that could happen, right?
Could, yes.
Some trusts, like the settler had 3 different children, 3 different people, so they don't even probably know each other.
No, sometimes we have secret trusts.
Yeah, so they wouldn't know that's what happening because.
No, they wouldn't under secret trust. But I'm talking about where all the beneficiaries know each other. But one, for example, the trustee doesn't like, and then I'm going to punish that one by sending the payment late, bastard, or something like that. Shouldn't do that. That's what it's saying here. Okay, you have to make your distributions and your decision within a reasonable time. Don't do any stuff that's going to cause the beneficiary to be waiting what? For an unreasonably long time for their, or whatever they're entitled to, by all means. Because you know how people go. Even when you do work for people, when you finish, he said, is the check ready? They say, not yet. The work is done. They said, when do I come back? Don't call me, I'll call you when it's ready. You call back a week later, is the check ready? Not yet. Almost like if they're forcing you to throw something into a window.
Oh, they want you to do
No,
I didn't know like that.
well, they just pay you when they feel like it. Now they have the power to pay you when they feel like, just for the hell of it. You know that people do that, just love it. They just love you calling. Mr. Jones again calling for check.
Government for your rate now.
Well,
Government is famous for that.
and so are many private sector people, especially individuals who you do work for, small business.
Yeah.
They love to keep you hanging on.
Yeah.
Doggone it, which is wrong. But people have this strange sense that they got a funny feeling when it's up to them to decide when you get the money, the stinking money that you've already
worked for.
Yes. Isn't that amazing? And if you get upset with them, I said, okay, since you want to be stink about getting your payment, can't wait for me to pay you. I'm not going to have you do any more work for me anymore. You dog. So like they get mad at you because you followed up for the payment for the work you already. Oh man, when are we going to get past that stuff?
And all humans die.
Yeah, when Jesus comes, that's it. All on it. Because remember, we're not going to die. We're just going to go somewhere. The question is, where? All right. Well, we're going to die here, but not. Yes. Yeah, because a lot of people don't believe in that spirit thing. They think when you die here, that's it.
Yeah, well, that's
you
why
just,
they're still mental slaves.
Like my grandma say, you're just rotten and that's it. No, that's not for those of us. Yeah, okay. If you trust in God, that's not what we believe. See? Trust again. Trust again. That's some serious trust, though. Okay, Alicia, and finally.
Okay, the exercise of a trustee's discretion must be done fairly and independently, and a trustee must not be seen as a nominee of the settler or a puppet on a string.
Uh-oh. The trustee must not be seen as a puppet. Many trusts are set up, but the real person who runs the trust is not the trustee. It's that bloody settler. Even though the settler may not be a trustee or beneficiary, they're still behind the scenes making decisions because it's, see, they know the trustee wants that thing we talked about last week, trustee fees. So they tell the trustee, here's what I'd like for you to do. And if the trustee says, I'm the trustee, and they said, I'm the settler, I'm the one who pays your. Especially if it's a revocable trust. So you don't do what I say, you stinking trustee. I'll revoke this trust. take away those fees that you get and give it to another trustee who will do AI that.
So would that happen? That would be in the case where a company and the trust, let's say, it would be passed to that, or they could give the trust to a different trustee in that same organization.
No, not the same organization.
Different trustee.
Yeah, they will fire that trustee if they decide to do it. If that trustee doesn't do what the settler wants, the settler will say, especially if it's a revocable trust.
But
They'll
only if the settler is alive.
Yeah, the settler is alive, by all means. Once the settler is dead, that's it. We talking about that doggone settler who is alive and kicking, running things from behind the show. Yeah, scene. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's why some trustees, when the settler dies, depending on the trustee, thank you God.
Yeah.
Now I can be a real trustee. You're welcome to the real world. All right, let's take a few moments, look at unit 6. Let me see what kind of answers you guys came up with. Number 1. Yeah, personal interest and duty are the 2 responses.
What is that personal?
So, say it again.
A trustee has a duty not to place himself in a position where his, what is that? Would say personal?
Duty
Uh-huh.
and personal interest.
Okay.
Okay, number 2. What are the general duties of a trustee? Management, administrative, proprietary, 3 of them. Okay, what is the difference between a trust and a power?
One is mandatory.
Power owns legal and equity.
The trust only owns legal. That's the real context.
Okay.
Yeah, the trust only owns legal. The power owns legal and equity in terms of what you can exercise. Okay. Remember, when you're a trustee, you have legal ownership of the assets, but that's it. It's only through your powers that you're allowed to do all these other things. Okay. All right, question 4. What are considered profits for a trustee acting in administration of a trust?
Fees and remuneration.
Are they profits?
Trust fees is definitely profit.
Okay, trustee fees, he says. Director's fees as well. If you have a business that's competing with the trustee business, that would be considered profits. Remember, any money that the trustee gets that is outside of trustee, well, this is why we don't say trustee fees, because trustee fees are allowed. So that's not considered a profit. That's remuneration. A profit would be anything that the trustee gets outside of trustee fees, such as if a trustee is sitting on a trust underlying company and they're sitting as a director and being paid, that would be profit extra. If a trustee opens up a business that's similar to what the trustee underlying company business is, that's competing with that business, that would be considered profit. Which one?
The last one.
Okay, you might be a trustee of a trust. The trustee, the trust itself has an underlying company that sells clothing line. You understand that?
Yeah.
So you're the trustee of the trust, but underlying the trust, underneath the trust is a company that is run by the trust.
For profits.
Okay? So that the company keeps generating profits, so that the trust always has money to carry out its distribution and trust responsibilities to beneficiaries.
Because the trust is just the holding.
Yes.
But the underlying company
is the operational side of the trust. Absolutely.
Okay, so I just for clarification. So like back to the clothing. So does the trustee open up this company?
No.
The trustee doesn't open.
No.
So who opens up this company?
The settler's company.
So
it's part of the settler's assets.
So the settler opened up the company and put it into the trust.
The settler would have had the company long before they established the trust. Let's say JP Morgan, before they established a trust for generations. JP Morgan has been a company called JP Morgan.
Yeah.
Then at some point, JP Morgan decides to establish a trust for generations to come.
Yes.
So they will go to a trustee and say, these are my assets. Part of the assets is this company.
Okay, so this is what I want to know. Can, after the trust is formed, can the trustee open up a business, as same type business that will benefit the trust?
He can
No.
advise the trust.
He can, like,
No.
he could give power to a investment.
No,
manager.
no. Yeah, if it's in the interest of the trust.
Yes.
Yes,
So that would be, that would be.
but that will not be considered profit. That will just be part of the power of the trust in order to increase the wealth of the trust.
Okay.
Now, if you use your information as a trustee in your own private business
Mhm.
that competes with the trustee company that you manage, then that is considered profit.
But isn't that a conflict of interest?
Yeah, 'cause that's like
No, you're not
private.
required to do it. That's what we mean. Remember we said last week that the trustee should never what? Profit
Yeah,
from his position as trustee.
but that's a conflict of interest. If he.
Because you shouldn't doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Okay.
That's my point.
Okay, okay, I see what you,
Now you get it.
I,
Sure, it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
It should not happen.
yes.
But because it should not happen,
Doesn't make it-
just like guys and women who are sitting on boards today, they're sitting on boards getting information about the company, and then they use that information, inside information, give it to other people and make money,
Exactly.
or set up their own company to
Yeah.
compete with the same company whose board they're sitting
Cut
on.
you out.
And I wonder how that is done
Happens all the time.
Yes,
Shouldn't,
it
it's a
does.
conflict of interest,
all the time.
but it happens.
Every government change.
You'd be surprised to know why people lobby to sit on boards.
Exactly.
Do we have something in the Bahamas to mitigate that, like how in the US they have the FCC? Do we have that something here?
To mitigate against
Um,
somebody opening up a competing company, for example, or using
right,
inside
using
information.
inside
Oh,
information.
inside information, yeah, our SCB does not allow
FCC?
Securities Commission of the Bahamas.
Oh,
That's our version of the SEC,
okay.
okay? Under the SCB in the Bahamas, you're not required to do that either. Now, what the punishment is for that, it's not as intense as the US yet, but here we discourage it as well. You're not supposed to use inside information in order to conduct any business affairs, just like in the US. So for example, if a company in the Bahamas is getting ready to take over another company and you sit on the board of that company, you're not supposed to tell somebody outside that that is going to happen. Okay, just like in the US.
Shouldn't even lose your job if you-
You should.
Jail time, that's
Yeah, you
that's
should.
the federal.
And depend, yeah, in the US, you can go to prison
Yeah,
for,
fine.
well, we know that Martha Stewart and many others went to prison for inside information. In Martha's case, she used inside information to sell shares and profit from it.
Yeah.
Before-
And so they sent her to prison
Oh.
before it actually happened.
Oh.
Oh, now you know
That's
why.
why. I was young. I didn't know. I just
Yeah, she was a
remember.
babe in swaddling clothes,
Yeah.
just watching Martha with the
But-
pots and pans.
But at the same time, you don't
Yes.
think that there would have been like management, well, not management, but her team who gave her the idea. to
Doesn't
say,
matter, remember, the trustee
Mhm.
can delegate, but who's ultimately responsible? So Martha might have some people who may have done it, but who's ultimately responsible?
Huh?
Because she has to sign off,
Exactly.
okay? Celebrities can have accountants and lawyers do their taxes, but who's ultimately responsible? Them,
Exactly. That's why they go to jail.
of course. Now, if you don't like it, you could sue your accountant
Mhm.
or your lawyer separately as a celebrity
I hope he do something with that.
and hopefully, you can prove it. All right. Next question. The Trustees Act 1998 gives the trustee the powers to what? Ensure, yeah, against personal liability, indeed. So you can use trustee funds to insure yourself against personal liability. The only time that will not hold if you found to be in breach of trust. That means you did something deliberate, so that insurance cover will not hold for you. All right, a trustee is required for blah, blah, blah. And in? What's the answer? In good faith, yes. Absolutely. Okay. What are used to discourage, to document the trustees' deliberations, etc.? What do we call it? Not the instrument, trustee. Minutes, yes. Trustee minutes is where we document the decisions made by the trustee.
So if you put minutes or resolution, they would be fine, eh?
Not really. There's a difference between a resolution and the minutes. Good point, though. A resolution is when you record the decision that is taken. The minutes records all the details and discussions of the trust meeting. Okay, so yeah, it's a good point you brought up. They are not the same.
So a resolution would be?
A decision taken by the board or the trustee.
So that's, okay. So to make a distribution on behalf of the client is a resolution.
Yes, but it will also be recorded in the trustee minutes. But that would be a resolution, yes.
Okay.
Okay. The decision to fire or somebody from the trust committee, for example, or remove them would be a resolution. Yeah. So resolutions are more decision-based. Minutes is the recording of the discussions of the meeting, whether or not there are any decisions taken.
Okay.
Number 8 must be a positive mental act. Yes. Yes. Number 9, the trustee should be neither this nor that of a settler. What we said coming down the stretch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Should not be a nominee or a puppet. A nominee is somebody or some entity that's acting on behalf of somebody else. Okay? Doing that, whatever they say, do you do. Same as a puppet. We all know what a puppet is. However we pull the strings. Kiss my foot. That's why I had to work so hard, because I didn't know how to be a puppet.
Yes.
If I knew how to be a puppet, I wouldn't have to work so hard. Just go whatever they say go.
That's it.
My father was like that. I'm like, Dad, you came up when everybody's making, back in the days when Celinda and that gang was back group. Why didn't you get your share?
Right.
That's what people ask him. But my father was so stubborn. He figured if he couldn't just work and do the correct thing and get it, he's not doing it.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they beat him off to death,
Yeah.
even though he was a qualified accountant, PhD, but because he was politically incorrect. And he did not change his position. That dude stuck with his gun to the very end.
Yes, integrity is a virtue.
Serious thing. Lost practically everything because of it.
Yeah.
And still would not change his position.
I do when it's right.
Once he's content.
He was, because he didn't have to do that. He could just go with the flow.
Exactly.
He was part of the time where everybody was going with the flow.
Making
Making deal. Of course. Stop it. It's a birthday girl. Yeah. Yeah, she's like, what are we still doing here, dog? I know what.
I like class.
Okay.
That's good.
You can wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alicia. Ashante, did you read last
Hold
week?
on. Number 10.
You said I'm number 10.
Oh, we didn't do 10?
No.
Oh, what's 10?
If a trustee acts solely on the instructions of the settler without acting independently, the trust may be at risk of being attacked as being a shaman.
Absolutely, a sham trust. That's what I was saying earlier. You have that trust, that settler behind the same pulling string, man, that whole trust might be called into question. Because if a beneficiary finds out, see? Even though they're benefiting from the settler's assets, beneficiaries don't care. Once they've been declared beneficiaries, they change their mood. Because now they know by law they have entitlements, even though the settler is the one who made it possible.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the beneficiaries. Now, the trustee isn't entitled to give them the minutes. But if a beneficiary wants to request a financial audit of their assets, can they do that?
They can do that. The trustee is required to provide financial information to the beneficiaries.
Yeah, because I was confused because in the duties of proprietary communication is one of their proprietary.
They are required to give financial information.
But then you saying that they are not required to give them the minutes.
No.
That's different, you know, because once they look at the financial acts, it wouldn't say
the decision.
all you're seeing is account numbers,
yes.
Really and truly. You're not seeing
it's not the mind and thoughts of the trustee.
Right.
Okay.
So you could see that because at the end of the day, all you're seeing is plus and minus.
Sure, just like if you have own shares in a public company, not shares Johnson or one of those companies, they're entitled to give you financial information.
Right. Okay, yeah, but you don't get
it. The minutes you see.
Yeah, but you don't see J.S. Johnson's minutes.
Right.
No. Okay.
Certainly not.
Okay, so I understand.
That's like a parent having a favorite child. And you want to know why that one is a favorite. You'll never know. That's a big time secret they go to the grave with even. Yeah, the minutes of the mind. Yeah.
Yes, the minutes of the mind.
My.
Yeah, that's what minutes are.
Yes, it is. That's why it's kept. Yes. Because we can't have all kinds of different beneficiaries trying to interpret what that was all about.
Yeah.
You know, a big fight each time. Okay, Ashante, are you there? Did you read last week? Ashante is going off walking in the park.
You want me to start on unit 7?
Ashante?
No, the solution.
Alicia loves this cramp.
Ashay? Sorry, you mean Ashay, Mr. Wilkinson?
Yeah, Ashay, is she there? We know Tom Jones is there.
I'm right here, Mr. Wilkinson. Sorry.
Okay, did you read last week, Ashay?
I didn't.
Okay, but you look
all right. So you want me to start number 7?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So you want me to start on number 7?
Yes. We're going to begin our discussion on trustee remuneration. And so I want you to open our discussion by beginning with a trustee may charge.
A trustee may charge for his services to the trust without being in breach of his fiduciary duty if the trust instrument expressly permits him to do so. The charging clauses in trust instruments are strictly construed by the court.
Which means
a trustee must ensure that the
before you go on, that means that it is very important that money is discussed because if you make any case to the courts, they're going to go where? To the trust instrument. And basically what's not there generally would not be considered. You can prove otherwise. Okay, folks? Very important. Very important. Okay, keep going and say.
A trustee must ensure that the trust instrument allows for remuneration before acting as trustee so that his services are adequately considered and duly compensated.
Before,
the express statement of remuneration. The express statement of remuneration in the trust instrument is the most optimal way in which the trustee can be assured that his remuneration is authorized. It is even argued that express charging clause in the trust instrument will be allowed, even though it may enable a trustee to gain from his fiduciary position, and even though it may produce a conflict of duty and interest. Do you want me to read the reference as well, Mr. Wilkinson?
Absolutely, just so you get used to all the blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Space Investments Limited versus Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce Trust Company Bahamas Limited, 1986. And Sargent versus National Westminster Bank, PLC, 1990. Even though there is a charging clause in the trust instrument of the trustee may only charge what is reasonable. A trustee is entitled to recover out-of-pocket expenses from the trust estate if they are legitimate. Such expenses include litigation costs or paying fees to agents. Is this Spade versus Gaunt?
Mm-hmm.
If a trustee takes funds from the trust in excess of what is reasonable, he may be sued by the beneficiaries for breach of trust.
So even though the trustee may be, the trust fund may be worth millions, and the trustee may say, I'm managing all these millions, and then get this amount of trust fees, they might decide they're gonna take off some extras. Problem is, if those extras are not built into the trust agreement, then the beneficiaries are coming after you.
I know the beneficiaries after you. Right?
That's one way. Or they talk to each other. That's one way. Or they talk to each other. How do you think that when people get married, do you think laws about your business? People get married,
Spouse.
Beneficiaries talk to each other. Wow.
Like I said, because the only way they can find out is when they look at the financial.
That's not the only way. Beneficiaries know each other. Beneficiaries are related to each other. Beneficiaries talk to each other. And some beneficiaries fall in love with each other.
Yeah, but then I'm saying because the minutes knowing that they are the trustee is taking them out of it, not until they look at the financials.
That would be one of the primary ways.
Yeah.
But remember, other people know stuff and they talk stuff too. Some beneficiaries even get sweet on the trustee who has influence.
Yes,
How about that?
Yeah, they do.
So now you look so sweet. I don't know what to do with myself. And so,
Oh, yeah.
and they start talking about stuff.
Yeah, I need you to approve some more money to be
received. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So we're talking about the textbook version, but in real life, all kinds of things happen that influence how people behave in practice as opposed to how they ought to behave in this text. Indeed. Yeah, that's one word. And we have all kinds of other riches that people do in order to get what they want. Okay. You'll be shocked to know what people do to get what they want. Exactly. That is sick. Spooky. Okay. Keep going, Ashante. Ashay. Man, I lost my. Ashay, are you still there? Still there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, keep going.
The court.
Okay, keep going.
The court also has jurisdiction to authorize the payment of remuneration to trustee for past and future services to the trust, notwithstanding the fact that the trustee may have accepted the unpaid office prior to rendering his service. Bainbridge versus Blair, 1845.
In other words, a trustee.
In
other words, take a pen, Ashay. The trustee may have taken on the trusteeship in good faith. Maybe an individual trustee, thinking, well, that's my auntie, sister, that's my mommy, sister, put up this and say, I'll do it in good faith, not realizing the amount of what? Work involved. So they don't discuss money up front because that's my friend, that's my family, that's my whatever. Then all of a sudden in the middle of the whole thing, they're like, what the flick? This thing is taking up the life for free. So, yeah. So suddenly they do a trust course like this and say, wait a minute, I've been paid for all this work. Wait a minute. I can't wait till Monday so I can go to work. So I can go to work. Make a petition. Yeah, preferably through an attorney. Okay, make a petition on your behalf to say that remunerated, then you can why, and hopefully you can convince the court to agree. But you do have the option in those cases. That's the point. You do have the option in those cases. That's the point. Okay, Ashay, keep going. Okay, Ashay, keep going.
In exercising its jurisdiction, the court will consider the following information. As in the case of Reed Duke of Norfolk Settlement Trust. the protection against claims of the trustees, particularly in the light of gratuitous nature of their office. The trust should be well administered and regard should be paid to the nature of the trust, the experience and skill of the particular trustee, the amounts which he seeks to charge compared to what other trustees are required to be paid for their services. Any other circumstances which may be relevant.
In other words, then,
The jurisdiction of the court may be.
in other words, I say, what do you think these points are making?
What do you think?
Anyone? What are these 3 points trying to tell us?
What they're basically telling is basically the trustee, in order for the trustee to be paid, he has to show what he's getting paid for.
Yeah, pretty much. In other words, you should be acting in good faith, conducting yourself as a proper trustee, and presenting any other evidence to support why you should be paid. Now, if you're saying I wasn't paid before, I was not an instrument that's working me to death, and they find out that you are an injudicious trustee, like you're doing all kinds of little stuff you shouldn't be doing as a trustee, etc., that may not convince the court to agree to pay you, no matter how well in tension you might be, no matter how hard you have already worked, no matter how hard you might work going forward. Okay, so if you're not being remunerated because it was not put in the trust agreement and you feel you're working so hard it's taking out of your time, make sure that you're doing the things you should be doing before you present yourself to the courts. Because you cannot present yourself as a trustee who's acting in bad faith in any way. Okay?
I have a question.
Don't worry, you're not alone. Remuneration.
Remuneration,
yes,
is calculated by percentage or just haphazardly thinking off a price, how much you think your duties cost?
All of the above.
Okay.
How about that?
Yes.
Because remember, in some cases, a trustee might be asked to come to work it out right to the percentage and justify it. In other cases, if the settler knows the trustee, that's his boy, they fought in Vietnam or whatever, they might say, give me a number and I'll pay it, John.
Yeah.
You're my boy.
Yeah.
Or my gal.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. See, that's why I say all of the above. But we know theoretically, people are going to try and tie you down to some structure.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's always structured. Because a lot of times things are paid on emotions.
Yes.
Who knows who?
And how much you think you pay by you?
Yeah, to you. Wow. And then other times they want to tie you right down to the penny. Prove every penny you're earning. You greedy bastard. But they didn't tell their friend that.
Yeah.
Or their whatever it is. Okay, kind of thing. But in fact, you might be doing more and better work than the person who's getting paid more.
Exactly.
Which is what happens in organizations a lot. If somebody likes somebody in a bank or firm or whatever, you do give them more stuff than the person that they don't like, the person they don't like or don't care about, doing more and better work. Doesn't matter. I don't like you, I like that one. Not one. Whatever the perception is, you may not in reality be getting more benefit, but in your perception or in your whatever else you're doing. That is sick. Yeah, like that. You see? See, that's me brush up like that.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
I brush up.
Yeah.
This one more. What kind of egg is that? Well, my point is people make all kind of strange fucking decisions.
Human nature.
Like my grandma used to say, sorry for love to be around you and stuff going forward. Okay, keep going, I say. Did you?
Okay. The jurisdiction of the court may be exercised to give a trustee remuneration either for past or future services or to increase the remuneration of a trustee where the level is unacceptably low. Additionally, as in the case of Keeler Settlement Trust, 1981, the court also inherent jurisdiction to permit trustees to keep remuneration they are taken in breach of their fiduciary duty and and ordered an inquiry as to future remuneration for some of its trustees.
Interesting.
Notwithstanding the fact that such agreements are rare due to allegations of undue influence, which may be made against them, trustees may contract with beneficiaries who are sui juris,
yeah,
sui juris, and who are sui juris and absolutely entitled for remuneration. Such beneficiaries will be bound by these agreements. Bailiff versus Murray, 1740.
Interesting that in some cases trustees may actually agree with beneficiaries. So in other words, it's saying to suggest that even though this remuneration may not be built on the trustee can sit with all the beneficiaries and they all agree, then they can which makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Now, the only problem with that is if one beneficiary disagrees, contract is void. Then you have to get everybody, all of the beneficiaries to agree. No majority vote. Unanimous. Exactly right. Keep going, Ashay.
Where trust assets are situated abroad and the law of the country where the property is situated allows trustees to receive remuneration, and trustees under a Bahamian or UK trust receive such remuneration, they will not be bound to account for it unless they went out of their way to obtain it. Northcote's Will Trust, 1949. As a corollary to the remuneration of the trustees is the rule in Keach versus Stanford, which states that a trustee must not allow his interests and duties to conflict. Additionally, a trustee is not allowed to take any profits from his position as trustee unless these profits have been authorized by the trust instrument, the beneficiaries who are sui juris, or the court. Wow. Boardman versus Phipps, 1967. Similarly, a trustee cannot purchase trust property for himself. Tito versus Waddell, 1977. This is not a duty imposed on trustees, but a disability. Any purchase of trust property by a trustee at the instance of a beneficiary will be voidable no matter how fair, open, or honest the transaction may have been.
Thank you very much. So those last few paragraphs.
Thank you very much.
And trustee remuneration, especially the last one, because it looks like everybody, including Bahamians, like to do this stuff if they could. Okay, so man, that's an old BMW. They've had it for 3 years already. Can I buy it at a discount? The answer is no, not if it's trust property. No. Even if the beneficiary agrees, you still can't do it. Who can render a suggestion as to why you think that's the case?
Because I believe it's a conflict of
interest. Indeed. It creates a room.
Trustees would have so much collectible items.
And you just said it because the beneficiary might be kissing up to this
trustee.
The trustee.
See? Not only is it a conflict of interest, then.
Imagine if, let's say, if that was possible, right? You sell me the car, I'm the beneficiary. And you know what? I like you no more. Give me back this car. Those are assets anyway.
But you already transferred ownership.
But that don't mean.
Well, we're saying that you can't really do it, even if you execute it, somebody else can come back and void it, potentially. But the bigger problem is to create conflict of interest issues.
That's a big conflict of interest.
Yes.
Saying that the trustee already then has the legal title to it.
Yeah, you buying back what you have legal title to?
Exactly.
No way. That's a problem all over the place.
Just say, you know what, let me just keep this for you and watch you get it.
Well, that's really what the trustee is doing anyway. Everything is being held in trust on behalf of the beneficiary. And even if the trust decides to sell an asset in order to increase another asset, see? Let's say they decide to sell property of the trust because the market value is increased. So they sell it that's only to increase the value of the trust. The money goes into the trust cash fund.
Yeah.
Okay, you cannot, they still cannot sell it to the trustee, even though the trustee may be prepared to make payment at the market value.
But it's a conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, you can't have it. Okay?
So what if the trustee finds somebody else to buy it on his behalf?
Well, not only that.
He could do that without if he doesn't get caught. If you, and I'm not saying that's not happening, people do all kinds of crap.
It always happens.
Sure. Or they may establish a company and sell it to this company, but really the trustee is the real beneficiary of the company.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can do it, but if you get caught, dog eat your lunch. Doesn't mean somebody hasn't gotten away with it. Because you know, we come up with all kinds of creative things. But in principle, we should not do it. Okay, for sure. All right. So this remuneration thing is a very tricky business. If you really want to just save yourself a bunch of stress, put it in the trust instrument. If you did it in good faith at the beginning and you found it was more work than you anticipated, present it to the court and get an agreement. Get the court. You might even go back to the beneficiary and say, this is more work than anticipated. I think I should be remunerated, can be agreed. Beneficiaries say, hell no, I don't want you getting any of my money. And then so you have to go to the courts now because your beneficiary has disagreed. Okay, and the courts then will make a ruling. And once the court rules one way or the other, everybody has to move on. It's final. That's why you should try and do everything before it gets to court.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, Siobhan, did you read anything? Oh, got it. Let me see if I can find somebody before. Hey, Nathaniel didn't read last week. He wasn't here. So yeah, we'll say.
Sorry, are we going over the question?
Oh, you mean for unit 8?
7.
7, sorry. Well, I'm happy to hear I thought folks haven't gotten the questions yet. Yeah, let's do that. Question 1. A trustee is allowed to be remunerated for his services if the yes, the trust instrument. No ifs, ands, and buts. See how straightforward that is? Things only get messed up when you start trying to change the rules. All right, number 2. In exercise, his jurisdiction, etc. Court may consider what?
Protection against claims of the trustees, particularly in light of the gratuitous nature of the office.
Yeah, protection of claims in terms of the gratuitous nature and
When an administrator and regard payment, the nature of the trust.
depending on the nature of the trust.
And also
Yeah, and any other circumstances, by all means, whatever they might be. Like when you get your job description and other duties as assigned. I wonder, is that a legal statement? Should that be there? That means they can tell you to do anything, clean the closet. And you can't refuse, otherwise they can fire you because other duties are other duties as assigned. It's funny, nobody's questioned it all these decades. Other duties as assigned, what the hell does that mean? That means they can get you to do anything they want you to do. All right. Number 3. Yeah, past and
past
or future. Indeed. Number 4. What? Sui juris, yes.
Absolutely.
And absolutely entitled. Anybody get curious to find out what sui juris means? Yeah, what did you find out? Sui juris. That's a Latin expression. Sui. Juris. J-U-R-I.
juris
In one's own right.
Yeah, in one's own right.
okay.
Okay, that's the meaning of sui juris. In one's own right. You have the right and the ability to do it.
Not a minor.
Not a minor, indeed. Somebody has to be not a minor.
Yeah.
Okay. The literal meaning of sui is I in Latin. And juris, that's where we get jurisdiction, meaning having the right over what you do, the ability, old enough, capable, within law. Okay. All right.
What was the for number 4? Is sui juris and
Absolutely entitled.
Absolutely entitled. Trustee may enter an agreement if he has sui juris or is absolutely entitled to be remunerated for his.
Sorry, what was number 2, please?
Number 2. Oh, gone it. That's that one.
that's
That on page
protection.
66.
Yeah, 66.
66? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the 3 points that are given.
Protection against claims.
Yeah, protection against claims given the gratuitous nature. Other cases that you may want to present. And the third one was?
Communicating circumstances.
Any other relevant circumstances? Do you see those 3?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay. Number 5. Remuneration for. Yeah, what's the general principle? We did. There's no need to. If the asset is in a jurisdiction outside of where the trust is being held, there's no need to what?
Account for it unless went out of their way to obtain it.
Yeah, there's no need to account for it unless you went out of your way. I wonder what that means. Is that doing some checking, send an email, run somebody down in the outside jurisdiction, and this kind of stuff. Okay.
So what would be the answer for that? What's the best wording for that?
What's the general principle? There's no need to account for it unless you go out of your way to obtain the information. In other words, this remuneration is not held hard and fast where the assets are in one jurisdiction and the trust is in another jurisdiction.
Because it's outside of your jurisdiction.
Indeed. Okay. But if the assets and the trust are in the same jurisdiction, then the remuneration issue becomes very technical and must be given account. All right, number 6. Yeah, interest and duties. Interest, allow his interest and his duties. All right, number 7. One word. Yeah, the P word again. What is this question asking? Saying? A trustee's what?
He's not allowed to benefit from his position as trustee because it'd be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, he cannot take any profits from his position as trustee. Not some, occasionally, if you feel like it. Any.
Exactly, conflict of interest.
Yes, of course.
If not allowed by the trust.
Yeah, if not allowed by the trust instrument. Very good observation. Because if the trust instrument allows for the trustee to take profits, then it's okay. Yeah. But as long as it's not there, I don't care what you come up with to justify it, it will not be justified. Okay. Now, there's only one other option you might have. That's going to all the beneficiaries and getting all to agree. Let me tell you, if you have a couple, it's not easy to get all to agree. There's always somebody who has some alternative perspective.
But then once all agree, then there has to be amendments to the trust instrument.
If necessary, you can amend it, or you can contract without amending it.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But wouldn't it be better? Because okay, why I'm asking this? Say they had a trustee and he started his administration has taken on more duties. And so now they're saying, you know what, it isn't fair that he has taken on more duties. And so we feel as beneficiaries that he should be paid more to compensate for his added duties. And not only that, So when he dies, and if another trustee comes in his place, that's why I said it can be amended in the trust, so that even if another trustee come and take on those duties, it's already in place.
Sure, wherever you can do a trust amendment, especially from remuneration issues, that's always the best way to do it. Okay, it removes all doubt, and wherever the trust instrument ends up, whether it's under new trustee or otherwise, it's covered.
Yeah,
by all means.
so you're looking at fair, being fair.
Not only that, the trust instrument is the driving factor in any trust arrangement. So wherever you can have it included, either directly or as an amendment to the trust, that's always a good idea. Okay, for sure. All right, number 8. A blank in the trust instrument will be allowed, even though it may enable a trustee to gain. Yeah, that one doesn't jump out at me.
No, it doesn't.
The answer starts with E.
Breach?
Not breach. Let me give you the first word, express. I know this one doesn't jump out. An express charging trust.
Oh,
And who?
An express charging trust. No, sorry, clause, not trust, clause.
Oh.
In other words, if there's a written
Yeah, I
clause,
see it. It's argued that express charging clause.
yeah, will allow
Yes.
because it's written in.
Yes.
Okay, kind of like the amendment you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, it can be put in as a clause under an amendment, adding to the original trust. Okay, number 9. Property. Who disagrees with that? Is it just property or?
trust property.
Yes. Trust property. Is there a distinction between property and trust property generally?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. By all means. If one of us didn't have property, that's different from trust property. That's for sure. And then number 10.
Voidable.
Yes. What is voidable? What makes it voidable?
Like you said, with the issue with the trust property, if he buys it but another beneficiary disagrees with it, it can be taken back.
Indeed. Okay. So we have to have unanimous positions on these things if they are going to occur. Otherwise, it might end up making the transaction void or voidable. Okay, by all means. All right, good stuff. Okay, so now we'll take a few moments to begin our discussion. First of all, we discussed the powers and duties. Just a whole bunch of them. Powers and duties. Then we discussed that all important thing called remuneration. Payment. Don't worry, you get it.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. The secret to getting remuneration is to say the first part slowly. Yeah, get the re out first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get tongue tied with the rest.
Yeah.
So if you say remuneration, say like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You get remuneration, then you get all tied up.
Yeah.
And then eventually, after a while, it just kind of flows. All right. Yes. Indeed. So we've covered powers and duties, remuneration. Now we're going to look at another interesting aspect of the trustees' relationship.
Yes, retirement.
Retirement and?
Removal of trustee.
Yes. In other words, you can be removed as a trustee even before you retire as a trustee. Okay. Because some trustees, especially if you're an individual trustee, you're getting older, you're getting impaired or whatever, you might decide to retire from that trusteeship as an individual and pass it on to another individual who you feel is more capable of continuing with that particular trust arrangement. So if you're a professional trustee, for some reason, you may grow weary of that trust, too much work, too much trouble, all right, or whatever the case it might be. So you might want to retire from that trust and pass it on. In other instances, you may not want to retire, but you may be removed by the beneficiaries of the courts for some reason, some breach of trust. And this man, I ain't really retired. Too bad. You've been removed.
In that case, if they retire you, could you still go to another trust company?
Sure. Depending on what they retired you for or removed you for.
You know, sometimes you can't work anymore.
Yeah, depending on what it is. Like a director who's been found in breach, depending on how serious the breach is, you may be suspended from being director for a year, 5 years, 10 years, or for life from being a director in any other company.
Oh, the court can do that?
Sure. That would be a punishment for your deeds. But some directors are way out in left field in terms of what they're involved in. They're not all as honest as you think. Okay? When people are fighting for directorship, it's not just because they're interested in the well-being of the firm. Make no mistake about that. In fact, for some of them, the well-being of the firm is at the bottom of their list. Their personal well-being is at the top. Yes. Money, money, money. Money. You guys know that song?
Money and bonus.
Well, that's part of the money. In the 70s, they had a song called Money, Money, Money. You guys ever heard that song?
Money, money, money.
Yeah.
Money.
Some people got to have it. That's the song. Some people really need it. Do things, bad things with it. See?
Oh, yeah.
You go back and Google it and listen to the song. Listen to the words, you'll find. Even though it was in the 70s, it is quite relevant today. And will be relevant as long as money and people exist.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Some of us are so busy dancing in our bell bottoms, we didn't listen to the words. And our afros flicking, carrying on those, hey, without even listening to the words. But if you listen to the words, it's deep.
Another song a lot of people don't listen to is Wake Up Everybody.
No question. Oh yeah.
If you really listen to the lyrics of
Deep.
that song.
Like most of the songs of that time. You listen to the lyrics, deep stuff.
Say money, money, money must be funny. Oh no, that's a different one.
Yeah, it is.
Rich man's world.
Oh yeah, no, go back to the original. Money, money, money. Yeah.
What's that one here?
OJs, the OJs.
The OJs.
OJs.
Yeah. So, maybe other stuff is still young. Oh, you don't, you're young, older than you look.
My parents.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That would be me.
Yeah.
Or more. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna look now at the retirement or removal of the trustee. And then for the record, what's our final unit?
The role and responsibilities of the trust administrator.
Oh, that thing. The role of the trust administrator. So next week we have two interesting topics to finish up. Please go ahead and finish the units as you read them, because we're going to look at the self-assessments for them. But this is going to be our final conflict for next week. But with the few moments we have, let's see who's going to. Hey, Nathaniel was reading just a moment ago, wasn't he?
No, I haven't started reading.
You haven't read yet? Man, then Nathaniel, then you open up the volley in Unit 8.
Yes.
The retirement of a trustee.
Yes.
Hold on, eh?
All right, learning outcomes. After completing this unit, students should be able to, 1, understand the circumstances in which a trustee must be removed. 2, understand the circumstances surrounding the retirement of trustees. 3, understand the jurisdiction of the court to remove trustees. Retirement of a trustee. A trustee may retire by express clause in the trust instrument under S47-2 of the Trustee Act by the beneficiary sui juris or by the court.
Now, for those of you who are curious, look, that's the reason to go to your Trustee Act. Which section?
47.
Which subsection?
2.
Yes, and find out if that is true, okay, of the Trustee Act. Notice By whom? Two groups. The beneficiaries and the courts. Okay? So either those two groups can retire you for some reason. Maybe we'll see eventually between now and next week. Okay, keep going.
A trustee may retire without replacement if there are at least two trustees or a trust corporation. He may also retire where the existing trustees consent to his retirement, or the trustees may execute a deed of retirement. Where the requisite consent cannot be obtained, the court has the inherent power to discharge the trustee without a replacement.
In other words, typically when a trustee is retiring, you don't have too much stress if there's another trustee available to replace that trustee. Okay? If you cannot get agreement for some reason, then everybody's, what are you retiring for? Why are you retiring? We don't agree. Then the retiring trustee can then what? The trustee that wants to retire can then petition the courts, and then with their petition through the attorney and say, this is why I'd like to retire from this bloody trust. And the courts will make the decision. And typically the court will not have a problem normally as long as there's another trustee to replace that trustee. Okay. Now there's not another trustee to replace that trustee immediately. The court may rule that no, we're not going to allow you to retire until what? A new trustee can be found and appointed. Yes. All right, keep going.
A court will discharge a trustee provided there is at least one other trustee who will continue to act as trustee, or a new trustee is capable of being appointed to the trust.
Yes, you go.
This equitable principle is to ensure that the trust continues to operate in the best interest of the beneficiaries, taking into consideration the nature and extent of the trust.
In other words, no court will allow you to retire in the absence of the trustee to take your place, even if the court has to make the appointment ultimately. But until then, you must continue as trustee with all the applicable duties. You can't say, I'm so tired of this nonsense. I'm not going to be checking for no investment managers. I'm not going to carry out any duties and powers. This job stinks now. Hurry up. You can't, you can try that. But you might find yourself in breach of trust, because you have to sit there until such time as the court finds a replacement trustee. Simple as that. Remember, the court is not interested in you as a trustee. Who's the court interested in? And no one else. Let's take a break to be a beneficiary. That's sick. Man.
Just reap the benefits.
Yeah. Being married into money, or being left money and just do nothing for it. Just kick back and waste it. She said, man, that sounds great. Especially on a birthday.
I need to go travel. See if I can find
Yeah.
So you gotta set up one for your children. Now that you know, you gotta set
Yeah, you don't have to go away. We have some candidates here.
Yeah, right.
You work in the building.
We don't see that.
Exactly. Even better.
But I mean, you don't have to be a company trust. So, you have other people here.
Is this interesting? A trustee, like I said, it's like this one with guy. He had 3 different children, and then his sweet lady, he takes full care of her.
Yes.
She don't have to lift a finger.
No. Not a finger.
When she moved from the other country to come to her vacation home,
Yeah,
make sure everything is painted and well prepared for her.
absolutely. Through the trustee.
What a sweet life.
Absolutely. While the rest of us, man.
Working hard.
What? When we get our little $250 from somebody, that's all. Thank you, God. We got a $1,000 payment or something. Say, oh, I'm gonna let them die and go to heaven.
Going to the perfume store, buy all that things, going to the jewelry store, buy all kinds of.
Yeah. Life is not fair.
Life is
But
fair.
whenever that happens, I think about Lazarus and the rich man, and I'm comforted.
Yes, that story.
Thank you, God, for that story for the rest of us who are not. You know that story. Man, she's a good young, old fashioned.
Also,
How cool is that? That's sick. But look here. If
They asked to warn people so they would not come out. Say no too late for that.
too late for them.
Let's hope that they do like this.
That's
that's
it.
sick, that's spooky.
Mhm.
Ah,
Bible.
and God be okay. It's the spooky, yes. But wonderful. Keep going. Let's see. One more paragraph.
Okay, a trust instrument may contain an express power which allows a trustee to retire. Additionally, there are provisions in the Trustee Act 1998 which also permit a trustee to retire.
Okay, I think that's a good point to quit on today. Yeah, we'll pick it up next week. But notice, if the trustee doesn't want any stress when it's time to retire, put it where?
In the instrument.
Absolutely. Or failing that, go and find the relevant section in the Trustee Act, which will govern their ability to retire. Now, let me tell you a little secret. If the instrument and the act allows the trustee to somehow retire, but that's going to leave the beneficiaries in jeopardy, what do you think the courts will do?
Vote against it.
Override the instrument and the bloody act.
Yeah.
So I don't care what instrument you bring. I don't care what act you quote, Mr. Trustee. For the next 3 to 6 months or a year, the beneficiaries are going to be uncovered while you leave. And therefore, we are ordering that you don't leave until you find another trustee. Absolutely. Remember, at the end of the day, the court is only going to be interested in whose interest? Yes, not you, Mr. Trustee, who's been getting all those big, fat, stinky fees. We don't care about you. You can't leave until we find a replacement.
Yes.
And so we encourage you to help us find one. So you can leave maybe a little sooner. All right. Thank you very much, guys. See you next week. Go ahead and read the remaining units. And when we come back next week, we'll see how else he can retire or be removed. And certainly this very important role of the trust administrator. All right. Be safe out there.
Okay, have a good week.
You too. You guys have a good weekend.
Bye.
You know, somebody.
Stop it.
A lady from church with us was funny because I'm like, you must go to these.
I know.
She's an older lady.
She gave you the ticket.
She
She gave you the tickets? What the hell?
She said, do you want these tickets? Somebody
What?
gave me 2 free tickets.
There you go.
I'll email them to you.
Wow.
Who's it last one?
My best friend is Peter though. She's taking me to dinner.
Oh, nice.
And I
Excellent.
guess you could-
So I shouldn't.
Yes, y'all should go.
Right out the door to your
It would be good.
We'll go.
I know I've been to do one, so she's taking me out.
Wow.
Last week
Oh.
was her birthday, so I celebrated her. And then my mommy's birthday was the day after her birthday. So
Man,
I
you've been
celebrated
partying straight through.
Uh-huh.
And now it's me, so yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
It's nice to run into an old-fashioned young
Yeah.
stuff. Man, my oldest son is 31.
Most people don't appreciate that.
No.
And I can tell you.
I know for a fact they don't.
Yes.
Okay?
It's
That's
hard
why
out there.
I was just gonna say,
Trust
if,
me.
if this dude was in Nassau, that's my oldest. I'd say, boy, call that chick.
Yeah.
Say, what do I say, Dad? I don't care what you say. Just do it.
Let's do it. Exactly.
Because that's a rare moment
Yeah.
in time.
Oh, trust me.
Oh, yeah.
So hard.
Yes, it is. And those of us who get it, we don't really get it. We don't appreciate it. We don't get it. We take advantage of it. We abuse it.
Oh, it's so
I'm
true.
trying to get back.
Yes.
So
Yes.
sad.
Enjoy,
Yeah, how's
enjoy.
your wife?
She's
She's
fine.
much better?
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely.
So I know you happy to have a home.
Absolutely.
So did she call you when we came back?
She did.
Okay.
So she's a little brat. He's a boy.